I'm not gonna leave you. You don't even use stuff and then go get a magnet. Yeah, right. Yeah, right. You buy a magnet. Yeah, right. The audacity. You buying condoms and you married. You buying condoms and you married. If you was somewhere, you
was American at a toast, right? So you confirmed it.
No, but first you don't know you want to.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
She supposed to be buying condoms, okay?
No, can you please? He gonna tell me to sit in the car and wait, and he in here buying.
I bought it for my homeboy. That was for my homeboy, sir. I ain't buying it for me. Sir, I did not buy the condoms for me. I swear to God I did. I swear to God.
We've been married for 10 years, and he buying condoms.
I bought it for my homeboy.
They going out they made.
Hey, go take your phone.
Y'all know her nose.
Man, why do you keep recording me? Stop recording me.
I'm just on my phone. I'm sorry.
It's just in her phone.
It's mine.
It's like
coming from a galaxy near you. This is Brothers in Booze. And here are your hosts, Greg Washington and Doug Ziegler.
welcome back.
Yeah, welcome back with a bang, kind of.
Shadow, me and you, and it's yeah. What's going on, Doug?
Yeah, the boys are back in town, right? Welcome to
Yeah,
the Booze, everybody.
Give me one of those fist bumps or something. That shit was funny.
That was funny. Man, that guy got just his whole shit wrecked right in the middle of everybody.
And I love everybody's responses. I love the responses. I love how she did that. That was just perfect. It was so much fun, but not for him though. But Doug, real quick though, you are a very sensible person. I'm not. Well, you are. You are. You're okay. How about this? You're more sensible than I am. How about that? So, with that being said, is there a reason that you could come up with for a married man to tell his wife to stay in the car and then go into Walmart and buy condoms that they don't use? Is there? Do you have
unless you're buying them for your kids, if your kids are of age?
Yeah, but he said. Yeah, he said his boy though. That's not.
Yeah, dude. Good luck with that. I hope you're not sleeping on the street after that.
Right, like.
Yeah, there's no coming back from that. I don't think so.
I was hoping for the guy. I was thinking, like, what kind of scenario is this guy not? Anyway, well, there's a scenario that I'm going to have a good time tonight, and the scenario is we got a good guest tonight. He's a fun guy. We've had him on before. Y'all already know. We'll talk NA beer and mushrooms and other things.
Yeah, I can't wait to talk about that. I know you can, but I can't. That'll be fun.
Oh no, I'm fascinated by it. I don't have to like them, Doug, to be fascinated by it. If that even makes sense.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, I don't like the taste of them, but I'm fascinated on how people could go into the forest and forage for these things and then bring them home and eat them and be all cool with that. And I'm just like, what? Okay, but what I will go and forage, Doug, for beer and bring it home. And last week I was in Milwaukee and I foraged for this wonderful beer here, Legwork. It's a New England IPA with Citra, Amarillo, and Idaho 7, and it is from our friends Venture Brewing. Yay!
Oh, nice. All right.
Here's my round of applause thing for Venture Brewing. One of the only the only black-owned brewery that I know of in Wisconsin. There might be another one floating around, but I'm not sure. I haven't verified that yet. And by verify, I mean drink the beer. But with that being said, we got a nice look at that. I'm not going to say hazy, but it's hazy.
Yeah.
And it is really, really nice. Fruity, Dog, not too crazy on the hop presence. So you would like it. I think it's one of your IPAs. And maybe I can do some legwork and get you some. And since you did your own legwork this week, what do you got in the glass?
All right. Well, I haven't poured it yet, but I have a black IPA. How about that? From Denmark.
Black IPAs matter, y'all. Just so
it's from Inderholder Inhaler, and it's also a black IPA with coffee. So interesting label. I thought it was a little nifty. So we'll see how this is.
Ooh.
So I have no idea. There is no date on this. So I'm rolling the dice a bit here.
Oh, and then we have that aspect, and then it's overseas, so it had to get on a ship or a plane. Yeah, I don't know about. First of all, the glass is pretty. The head is amazing. I mean, come on, look at that.
Oh man, that smells delicious. The coffee is like really, really present, but it's like almost like a sweeter coffee, like that like bitter coffee bean scent.
Yeah.
It's like sweet.
Yeah. So Doug, or get your.
Okay. It's good. It's a bit malty, so I think it's a bit long in the tooth, but the coffee really kind of balances that out a bit. Like it almost works in a weird way. It's not as fresh as it could be, obviously, because there's no date on it. But like you said, being from Denmark, and I just found it in a bottle shop, and I was like, well, I'm going to give it a go.
I missed the can art. Was it good?
I thought it was kind of neat. We'll see if you can see it here.
Hold on, let me get that out there. Oh, it is really cool. Okay.
Like
that's a map of Europe, right?
Yep. I think.
Okay.
No, that's actually It's actually flowers. My camera must be a little dirty or something.
Oh, yeah.
So floral, and then the middle is more like a water swirly kind of deal. So, but yeah, it was neat. So, but this is quite good. It's also 9%.
And I figured I'd debut my glass look here.
Yeah, do it, man. Bring it out. Here, maybe you can see it better now.
I could see it a lot better now. Yes, those are flowers.
Yep.
Right.
All right. So now we established Greg is as blind as I am. This is good.
Yes. These are reading glasses only, but they are nice for reading, bad for looking far away. But I guess that's how it goes.
I can't drive with my glasses on. It's like it's too like
blurry.
It's blurry and like. It feels like my field of vision is really limited, but it's because I need them for reading, not for anything else. So I'm with you, man. I'm with you.
Yeah, and the lady kind of pressed the issue. She's like, "We're all going to go and get we're all going to go." Like it wasn't just like my kids in her. It was like we're all going to go. And I'm like, okay, but I don't need that shit. And then I got there, and they're like, "You need that shit." And then I got home, Doug, and then when I got my glasses and I started looking, and I'm like, shit, I needed that shit.
It's funny. You might not have really realized it. Like the only way I started realizing was like the distance I had to keep putting my phone away from my face to read it.
Yes.
That's how I knew that I was like, okay, I need to get checked.
Right. And I didn't get that.
Or if I'm reading a book, it was like.
Right. And this is like and this is why we need the ladies in our lives, because they at some point they need to be like, no, look, motherfucker, you need to go do this. And then you're like, shit, you're right. And then by the time you go and do it, right. Correct.
Also, I will say, and the shoe is on the other foot for me because Jill has been wearing like like when you go to the store and you buy the generic readers, because she was having trouble at night reading a little bit, like in bed with her phone. So she went and her problem was she had LASIK 18 years ago, and she was just like it's only been 18 years. I'm like, yeah, 18 years, and your body changes in those 18 years. So like you just need readers. It's not like you need our one kid if they would have had to get glasses 30 years ago, they would have had glasses that were this thick. Like they would have to but now they're so thin and awesome. Like you don't.
Yeah, they are. The technology is amazing.
Yeah,
absolutely. And so before we get to our fun guest, I want to play a clip, and then we'll definitely get his opinion on it.
Get his 2 cents. Yeah.
But because I know Matt and I are friends. We've been friends for a couple of years. I know he's going to want to comment on this, and I know you are too. So
Probably.
here we go.
Here we
Can,
go.
for starters, pray. We really need God in this world. We need God in our hearts.
Let's stop that shit
And
now.
I know God's making a big comeback in this country. I feel it. I talked
God's making a comeback. So
to people who say, I started to return to church. I brought God back into our families' lives. It's so important right now. We're due for a couple of miracles, I think. But I also believe we have.
what? Wait. Why didn't that miracle happen for her when she was running? Didn't God help her with the whole election thing? Or okay,
On
forget
top of that, we have a really good court case, and we're going to open people's eyes to what went wrong. You know, there's times I felt just like the voters out there in Arizona, despondent over the last couple of weeks because we have such an amazing movement. And then I think about
so then
For her.
right, but why didn't God help her out with
what God, our Father is doing. Imagine if your dad said to you, I have such great hope for you, and I believe in you so much that I'm going to put you in charge
he
of
spoke
something
personally
difficult.
to that ninny.
And that's what he's
That's
saying
the person
to
he chose to talk to. That ninny is who he chose to talk to.
well that, and since she's doing so well, wouldn't he have helped her out with the election? Like,
I believe in you so much that I'm going to put
I believe in you so much, I'm going to let you lose that election.
you in charge of something difficult. And that's what he's saying to us. He's saying, I've put you all here for these difficult times because I have such faith in you. I know how strong you are. So I'm taking this battle. We're in, you used a baseball, Rick, you used a baseball analogy. I'll use a football analogy. We're in overtime. You don't walk off the field in overtime. Right. God put us here in overtime for this battle, for this moment. He never said it was going to be easy. But I believe this all happened because more eyes needed to be opened up to what's happening in our elections. Our sacred vote is being trampled on.
No. Hey, listen, people that don't know sports ball, that's totally fine. You don't need to know that. Do not venture into the sports ball metaphors if you don't know that shit, because that was the funniest fucking thing out of that clip to me. I was like, holy shit.
Right. Right. I actually really never heard Carrie. Is that her name? Carrie Lake. I've never heard her speak, actually, Doug. I've tried to skip by it as much as possible. And I was just looking for clips today, and I found that one, and I just found it completely amusing. Yeah, and she comes look like she looks with. I mean, we know who she is and all that, but she looks so damn unthreatening. Really, you know what I'm saying?
And
so
that's the point.
Right. No,
point.
and I get
they
right.
look unthreatening. They talk
we
in
need
this
God
really
in our hearts and our homes.
See how her tone is like this sort of thing. It doesn't raise, doesn't go low. Like we talked about this on the cult bar, where like cult leaders do that shit where they talk and it makes them sound really sensible because they don't go really high and they don't go really low. She's doing that exact shit right there.
Yes, she is. Mm-hmm. So it's very approachable. All that until you start hearing what the fuck she's saying, then you're like, lady.
And you're like, oh, you're nuts. All right, let's go.
Right. So, without further ado, we know that I got to put these headphones on, but I'll wait till Matt gets on here. Without further ado, we know our friend Matt's gonna have a comment. We're six about this, so we're going to get him on here right now. But Matt is one of my friends, one of Doug's friends. We met him at that too. We've seen him at Home.con. I believe he's still a board member at Home.con. We'll verify that right now. He's shaking his head in the back door. So, and backstage. So yes, that's it. He's a former chef. He's an NA beer drinker, lover. He's a connoisseur of many things. He's an athlete now. We'll get into that. He's a forger of mushrooms. Man, he does everything. He's Matt. What's going on? What do you think of Carrie Lake?
Oh my goodness. It's almost like they grew her in a test tube or a vat. Because again, like you said, when you look at her, she looks like this just completely nondescript, generic white lady. And that's because that's what she was. She was like a local newscaster. Her whole job was to be non-threatening and just be a face. As far as the whole God thing, oh gee, I don't even know where to unpack on that one. It's one of those funny things because I don't keep up with sports, but I know that even back in high school, the high school football team, because I went to Catholic school, they would always pray before every game. And we still lost every game my senior year. So obviously the other team prayed better, I guess. I don't know. I feel like whatever gods are out there watching, they got more important things to worry about than Carrie Lake.
Absolutely. But it's funny how they can invoke God here and there. And then when I invoke God in other places, they call me a hater and all this other thing. But
absolutely.
That aside, Matt, besides the craziness in the world, what is going on?
Well, you hit the nail on the head. Technically, my term on the board finished out this year at Home DadCon in Phoenix. But being the glutton for punishment that I am, I ran for re-election and won.
I know that great
to that.
Yeah, cheers to that. And I understand. I've been there and done this many times.
Oh,
absolutely. You already know.
Again, I've got one more in. I actually took over as the secretary on the board last year, and I'm continuing in that this year. And you guys already poured. I'm pouring one of the newest ones that I got. Is Athletic put out their Brute IPA again this year.
Oh, the Brute IPA.
This year they're calling it Round of Cheers. Last year was the first time they did it, and they just called it a Brute IPA. They actually sent it out as thank yous to some of the top customers and a couple of the top ambassadors. I got a 6-pack of it. It was nice.
Yeah. And we haven't seen a lot of Greg. That Brute IPA stuff is like kind of a flash in the pan. It's nice to see that somebody's still making it. How is it, Matt?
Oh, it's nice. I mean, it's just really nice and crisp and clean. It's got a little bit of grapefruit and a hint of like green apple from the hops, but then a nice, clean, dry, bitter finish. I mean, it's. I could chug these all day. Well, it helps that they're non-alcoholic, but
that would help. Then you can
without
chug
feeling
them all day.
full.
Yeah, the full feeling.
And I do.
Yeah, is it whiny, Matt? Because that's a good. Okay. Because usually that's
really
what
not.
Brute IPAs. That's that part of the thing is that, or at least the Brute IPA. They use champagne yeast, I think, in beer.
Yep.
So then it makes it a little bit whiny and thin a little bit and a little bit lighter than most IPAs.
I would say the mouthfeel is definitely on the lighter side compared to most other IPAs.
Okay.
But
that sounds about right. Yep. That's
again. I've never had a Brute IPA that was leaded.
Yeah.
One of the issues that I have is I've been without drinking long enough that when I quit drinking, craft beer was Sierra Nevada Pale.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going to hit 9 years in May.
So are you still, just for full disclosure, an ambassador over there at IFI?
I am.
Excellent. I mean, that's not a bad thing to me.
Athletic.
Cool.
No,
that's not a bad thing to me. That's a great thing.
I love it. I mean, if you look in my supply right now, I've also got some stuff. I've got the Black Butte Porter.
That's kind of hard to get. The
it
Black
is.
Butte Porter. That's one that I actually would like to find if I could, and I haven't been able to find it.
The only way that I was able to get it was I ordered it online and had them ship it to me. Sometimes you just got to bite the bullet and buy a bunch of it, and you're just going to drink a lot of it for a couple of weeks.
Sure.
But I've got some of that in the cooler. I've got some Untitled Art stuff. I really enjoyed their lychee sorbet, or they did a lychee sherbet NA, and they did, and I tried their hazy non-alcoholic IPA, which
right.
was good. I prefer their juicy IPA to their hazy IPA, though. But again, like, honestly, Untitled Art puts out amazing stuff. I just got finished. You guys rescheduled me. Otherwise, we could have done the tradition for a second year. But Bravas Brewing, which is out of San Diego, once a year, they do a barrel-aged, bourbon barrel-aged stout that's non-alcoholic.
Yeah, I've had it. They're ridiculous shipping. That's the problem.
Yeah. Well, no. This is you're talking about. I'm talking about the Gravitas.
Oh, that I haven't had. No, that one.
No.
That one you had.
Yeah, I would say this one they put out once a year. This year it took 45 minutes for them to sell out the entire batch. It goes fast and it runs. I mean, it's not inexpensive in any way, shape, or form. I think they hit around $35 a bottle.
Yeah.
And it's about a 500 milliliter bottle. I mean, it's a decent sized bottle, but I mean, again, there aren't that many barrel aged non-alcoholic beers out there.
True.
So when it comes out, we all get really excited. So last year, when I was on around this time, I had gotten mine in and I actually popped one open on the show.
Yep. I remember.
Mine are scheduled to arrive on the 12th. It would have been there. But it's all right. It's all right. I got plenty other things. I got plenty other things to drink with me.
How about this? Speak to this one a little bit.
This is the one you talked about. That I can't believe that's only $14.
Yeah, the Deschutes Black Butte Porter is fantastic. I mean, it tastes exactly like I remember Black Butte Porter tasting. It's a little lighter on the mouthfeel, but that's kind of across the board with non-alcoholic beer.
True.
At a certain point, you just kind of accept it. I've had a couple of Athletics done a couple of milkshake IPAs. Untitled Art has done a couple of stouts with lactose and the rest of it, where they add that in to get a little bit of that heavier mouthfeel. But other than that, they always come out a little bit lighter on the tooth. But flavor wise, I think it's great.
Well, I'm going to ask the question of the day real fast, real quick. Actually, it's not the one we talked about, Doug, but it's this one. I'm going to ask this on my Twitter page. There's a beer style for the month of December. What should and would it be, y'all?
Well, most people would go with the old-fashioned Christmas ale, I think, but I actually prefer winter warmers.
Okay, that's fine. If you go on my Twitter page, Daddy Porter, and you'll see there's a wide range there. So people have a lot of different thoughts about this. What's your thoughts, Matt?
I like the darker beers come Christmas. I'm all about like a porter or a stout, or honestly, one of my favorites that's out right now is Athletic put their maple brown ale back out. And it's absolutely fantastic. They didn't over maple it, so it's not one of those cloyingly sweet brown ales. You get the maple flavor, but it still has that nice, beer bitterness to it.
Yeah,
and that's one of the ones that I've been drinking a lot of this year.
I could see where that would be an issue too with non-alcoholic. Meaning sometimes that sweetness can be balanced with alcohol flavor. You know what I'm saying? So then if you don't have the alcohol flavor or especially with the big ABV beers, some of the, some of that alcohol, you know what I mean, needs to be balanced by some sweetness. So if you don't have that, it might get overly sweet. What are you going to say, Matt?
Well, I was going to say, the other thing that you got to look at is that when you brew a beer with maple and you're making a beer with alcohol, that yeast is going to eat part of that sugar to produce the alcohol. So that's going to reduce it. When you're not doing that full, that complete alcohol fermentation, you're not going to get as many of those sugars out of the beer.
Yes.
you know, like on a chemical
Didn't think of
level,
it that way.
you know,
Yes.
like, you know, yeast eats sugar
Yes.
and
Yes.
poops alcohol and CO2.
Yes.
Without that sugar getting turned into alcohol, you end up with that leftover sugar. So I think it's one of the reasons why some of the best non-alcoholic beers out there, the ones that people tend to get the best reviews with, tend to be IPAs, because you can use the bitterness of the hops to balance out any of that residual warty sweetness or whatever else. It's Athletic does a brown ale for the fall called Stump Jump that is a classic like autumn brown ale. And when they released it this year, I ordered a case the day it came out, and ordered a second case already. It is just a really, really good brown ale. It reminds me of Newcastle brown ale, but without that sweetness that Newcastle has.
Yeah.
And I love it. Yeah. Yeah, somebody's drinking Stump Jump right now.
Yeah, I was on the fence to get back getting that, so maybe I'll have to go pick some up.
Well, I will say, for anybody who's looking at Athletic, like, ambassadorship aside, they actually just released the lineup for their Dry January package, which it's 6 different 6-packs. So you get the Brewed IPA. They're doing their English Special Bitter. So there's an ESB. There's they're doing their Lodge Life, which is kind of one of those like Christmas warmer beers.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's got a little cinnamon in there and the rest of it. Then there's a Jumbo Juicy IPA, which I've never tried. There's one that they're calling No Grits, No Glory, which they're using like corn in the malt, and it's supposed to be like a cream ale lagerish type thing. And the sixth one is the maple brown ale. But more importantly, they're doing the whole thing for $70 for 6 6-packs with free shipping.
With free shipping.
Yeah, I mean it's a steal. It's a steal. I mean, I ordered mine today.
And Matt, so respectfully, it doesn't seem like you have this problem, but what is the shelf life generally for these beers? I know you may not know the shelf life of regular beer, but does it kind of line up? Meaning, if you get some IPAs, you got to drink that sooner, and then the darker beers kind of go a little bit longer. Or what are you thinking? Or what do you know?
The darker beers can go a little bit longer. Your IPAs are going to fade off a little bit quicker. More than anything, without there being alcohol in the can, they pasteurize them and in order to make them shelf stable, but they will never have the shelf life that you get with an alcohol beer, because alcohol is a preservative.
Gotcha. So acquire them and drink them, basically.
Yeah, I mean, I've had their IPAs as old as, I'm trying to think. Well, I was squirreling some away to save, and probably drank them at like 8 months. And there was a noticeable drop off in flavor.
Okay.
Like at 8 months, like it was enough that, I mean, it was still good, but it was not as good as it was when I had the first one.
Gotcha. So Doug, no cellar in these bad boys, okay?
No.
Yeah, that would be an interesting experiment to cellar one of their stouts, like to see how it turns out after a year.
I actually
look at that. Doug always finds a way.
I actually tried to cellar the Gravitas, one of the Gravitas that I got from last year.
Now that's the barrel aged one, right, Matt?
Right. That's the barrel aged one.
Okay.
So I got a few of them last year, and I put one in the back of the fridge and was just like, I'm going to save it for this special occasion and wait for the right moment. And it was there for a while, and I don't even remember what the occasion was, but I decided that I was going to open it up and drink it with dinner one night. And the carbonation had gone absolutely bonkers. Like I popped the cap and it was just flowing over.
Wow.
you know, I at Home DadCon this past year. So I don't know how much you've heard about what happened with the beer share, or how much background you got about what happened with the beer share. So for those who don't know, many moons ago, Greg used to do what he called the beer share, and it was something that he just did personally in his room. And, you know, anybody was welcome to show up, but, you know, it's not like there was a sign advertising it.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, people brought beer from their local community, and they showed up at Home DadCon, and everybody got to taste each other's beers and kind of hang out and talk beer. So when we had the convention in Cincinnati, it was very, very early in the opening up of after the pandemic. And, you know, we understood there were some people who just were not comfortable with coming to a convention with dads from all over the country. I mean, we were requiring masks and all the rest of it, but everybody had their own level of comfort. And I know, Greg, you didn't come. And as a result, Joe Saladino kind of like took the lead on the beer share. And it was huge. We put it in a hospitality suite, and we made it like publicly known to be open to everybody. And I mean, every night from like the time dinner ended until like I from what I heard, like 1:30 to 3 o'clock in the morning, people were still there. That year, Athletics sent me with like 6 cases of free beer to just give away. So we had plenty of non-alcoholic beer. The Sam Adams people gave us a bunch of their Just the Haze NA for us to sample out to the guys, along with some of their whatever their holiday brew was, or their Oktoberfest, I think it was. But they did all this stuff. And then at the end of the night, or at the end of the convention, Joe and one of the other guys, Paul Gordon, had been sitting behind the counter, basically playing bartender for the whole weekend. And as a joke, they put out a tip jar. And they said, all right, guys, it's time for tips now. And everybody pulled out their wallets and just started dropping money in. And they were like, no, we don't want this. And they're like, well, donate it to the scholarship fund. And they ended up making a decent amount of money. So after Cincinnati, Joe hit the ground running with this brilliant idea. Now, you know, Joe does his own podcast, the Stay at Home Dad Beercast.
Yes, he does.
And he's got a lot of connections with a lot of different breweries. So he went out and talked to all of his brewer friends, and he got them to donate swag and to donate beer. And Joe set up an auction site where they were auctioning things off before we got there. Then he had beer shipped to Arizona, where we were in Phoenix. They did live auctions. They auctioned off swag, glasses, T-shirts, everything. Long story short, by the end of the weekend, Joe and the rest of the Beer Share Committee raised over $3,000 for the Brian Dixon Memorial Scholarship Fund.
That's awesome.
Which is just an obscene amount of. But when I say he got beer donated, like he even got the guys at Three Magnets Brewing, they donated a bunch of their non-alcoholic stuff. They have their own non-alcoholic line called Self Care, which is fantastic. They made the first. They made the first wet hopped non-alcoholic beer that I ever tried, like in my life, and it was
wet hopping non-alcoholic beer. Fucking A. That's another level.
Yeah. Well, they're wet.
Now we're wet hopping non-alcoholic beer. Damn.
Right after Joe gave me some of their wet hop stuff in Cincinnati, I came home, and like 2 weeks later, Athletic put out a wet hop. And I was just like, okay, you know, so it's out there.
Amen.
But it was, so one of the things that they did was somebody had donated something for them to auction off, and I saw it out the corner of my eye one night, and I got like unreasonably excited by it. because I had been reading about these things, and I'm like, are y'all auctioning that, or is that like a raffle prize? Like, what do I have to do to win this? And he's like, we're going to auction. I'm like, when are you auctioning it? I need to call my wife so that I have a budget set so that I don't get in trouble.
Yeah.
And Joe looks at me. He's like, dude, why are you so excited about this? And I had to explain to him. So I don't know if y'all have heard of this, but have you seen The Physic?
Yeah,
Wait, what? Oh,
So-
I think I know what this is, but go on.
This, you can actually put any beer, bottled or canned, in here. You put the straw in the beer, you put this down, and you pull the tap, and it turns it into a draft beer. It has, I think, a vibration pump in the back of
I
it.
fucking love it. I fucking love it. Doug, I love
It
this
has
shit.
it has a little
I
vibration.
know it seems
pump.
dumb. I know it
in the
seems
back
dumb,
of
but
it?
I love this shit.
Oh, I'm gonna pour one on it before I leave here tonight.
This
The
is great.
thing is, what I was explaining to Joe is that there is no draft non-alcoholic beer unless you are at the brewery, because they can't ship it in kegs. And like, I looked at Joe and I'm like, seriously, I've had draft non-alcoholic beer twice in my life. And Joe was like, oh, I get it now. And, you know, it was late and I went back to my room and I went to sleep. And apparently everybody conspired behind my back after I left the room and decided in their heads that this needed to be mine. So they all chipped in the money to cover it. And then in the morning at the convention, they staged a fake auction where they made sure I got outbid for it. And then brought me up to tell me that they were just fucking with me and made me ugly cry at 8:30 in the morning.
Well played. Well played.
Well played. That's awesome.
But I
That's what
I
friends
used
should
the thing
do. God
nonstop.
damn it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. No, it was,
No,
it was
that's a
absolutely
friend
fantastic.
move. That's a heart warmer. I wasn't expecting that ending, actually.
Yeah, but it actually runs off of 2 AA batteries, or if you're at
Look at
home,
this.
if you're at home, it plugs in with a USB port.
Respectfully.
Yeah, you can
Aw.
actually bring it with you to go tailgating. Oh, thank you, JHG.
This is too much love going around at this moment. Like, I need to get messy.
And you feel the love tonight.
Well,
That's a great story. I didn't
gotta
see that
ask.
coming. I didn't see that plot twist coming, but go on.
Well, hopefully next year when Home DadCon happens in the middle of September, I believe it's the weekend of the 22nd of September. I fully expect to see you there this year, Greg, because it's in Milwaukee. We're coming to your backyard.
I wouldn't say fully, but I'm 90%.
Awesome.
And
awesome.
Milwaukee is
JHG said
Milwaukee
and 23rd.
Yeah, there we go.
Milwaukee is, I can't say, Doug knows, like, I'm in
He loves
love
Milwaukee.
with
He
fucking
loves
Milwaukee. I'm in, as far as a beer city goes, I'm fucking in love with Milwaukee. Now,
Right.
as far as politically, it's a fucking mess and it's redlined and we got to work on that shit. But beer wise, that's one of the best places in America. Yeah, I said it, motherfuckers. Come at me, hit me in the fucking, don't hit me in the DMs because I want to see this shit publicly. Hit me, daddyporter.blog or on Twitter. Please do it. I would love to argue with you and tell you why Milwaukee's fucking amazing. And if y'all are trying to do like these beer shares, y'all could have picked a better city. Now, I don't know. I'm pretty sure, because I've been through this process before, I'm pretty sure that beer wasn't a big fucking thing in the whole finale thing. Maybe it was, but the fact that y'all are meshing these beer things with getting to provide more services for at-home dads, meshing this all together, and now y'all going to Milwaukee to do it. Like, the synergy and all that is pretty amazing. You could have picked the worst beer city. You could have picked many more worst beer cities. With all due respect, Phoenix is respectfully not it as far as beer goes. And I know because people might come at me, dog, about Phoenix and being a beer city, but it's no Milwaukee. It's just not. Sorry, folks. And the fact that this is all coming together this synergy next year, and this momentum that Joe's building and y'all building. You're coming to Milwaukee. I mean, it's just great. And what else is great is what Doug, I think, has to show us, or maybe it's not great. Maybe it's not great, but hopefully it is. Okay, cool. I'll be back in a second, y'all.
Yeah.
All right.
So what I'm going to bring in my second beer. There's a local brewery that I really like called the North Brewery, which is I took Greg there when he was here. They are famous for their stouts. They make great stouts, but they do a lot of other things too. But they did a collaboration beer, which this is called North with Water Street Brewing, so called North Water Kusios, which I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. That is a Lithuanian word for Christmas.
Okay.
So basically, or the dinner before Christmas, it precedes Christmas, because the owner of both breweries, both of their grandmothers are Lithuanian. So they decided to collaborate and pay homage to that. So this is a Imperial Christmas Stout. This is 10% ABV. It's a little hot, but this I had when I was on Wednesday night, they call it Flight Club, where everybody brings beers and it's a bottle share, but it's at a brewery. So it's really cool because it satisfies my extrovert need to be out and talking to people. So, and it's about beer, so I can talk to people about beer, which I love doing. They just released this today. They gave me a can last night before it was released. So I thought
that's
that was
nice.
good. Yeah. So, I'm gonna see if I can get open. I just cut my fingernails. Try to, you know what I mean? When you cut open your fingers, you have fingernails to grab them, because I tend to cut them really short.
Well, see, I'm still learning. I only stopped biting my nails probably in the last 2 to 3 years. So I'm still getting used to actually having fingernails. Oh, that's nice.
Look at how the layers come out there. That's really nice. So Imperial Christmas Stout, I'm going to see what the hell they did it where half of it's like buried in the snow. So I'm not exactly sure what's the ingredients are in it, but I imagine you're going to have cinnamon and nutmeg and all that jazz. So that is almost like a sweet stout, like a Caribbean stout, Greg. You know what I mean? Like, remember we got that one from Barrel and Flow? It reminds me very much of that, like a sweet stout.
Mm-hmm.
But a little bit of cinnamon. If they had nutmeg, I'm not tasting any of that. But it's like a sweet stout with a bit of cinnamon notes to it. So very drinkable. Does not drink like its ABV. This drinks very smooth. Even though
that's
sweet.
Dangerous.
Yeah, and that's why I'm glad they only
I remember how dangerous those can be.
Yeah. Yeah. And then JHE had to come with that's a beautiful head. Thanks for the innuendo comment there, JHE. I appreciate that.
Yep. And before we move on, real quick, I'm doing a taste bud stud from Venture Brewing. Look at that can.
That can is
Love
awesome.
the can art.
Yeah. The can art is fun, but fucking Simon and the boys don't say shit about the beer. They don't say shit. They don't tell you ABV. They don't tell you hops. Simon, what the fuck is up with this one?
Yeah, that's all I got out of that beer was just it's an Imperial Christmas Stout. It's 10% ABV. That's literally all I got out of what it is. So I'm like, okay, I have no idea what the ingredients are. Like I was telling Matt that like at the North now on Wednesday, every other Wednesday they do they call it Flight Club. So
I heard it.
Beer.
Yeah,
so,
it's fun.
It is super fun time, and
that
if I can ever
awesome.
get you here, if I can ever get you here when that is, you would love it. It's just like a bunch of people just from all over the place bringing shit. Fucking fun.
Yes. So I have to address something real quick. Now, did he just say Daddy Porter butt plug? Now, I might have said it, and it might have been a Freudian slip, but I'm not judging, though. So I didn't mean to say it.
We don't kink shame.
I'm not judging. If that's your thing, you go right ahead. Whatever is going on in your bed ain't going on in mine. I don't care. I can't say enough with all the different things going around about, look, stop caring about who people love, what they do in their beds. It's none of your fucking business. It never was any of your business. It never will be any of your business unless they're trying to make it your business. So otherwise, shut the fuck up And also stop the bullshit. And this is the perfect segue for my next clip, Doug. This is perfect. Thanks, JG.
Okay.
JG, you act like you've watched this stream before, sir.
At what point do you give him a producer credit, man?
I don't know. Well, whenever he wants, he's welcome here. No matter.
He's been on the show enough, so
a gazillion times it seems like, but not enough for him though, because he loves always to come back. And
we love having him.
The initials are DP, so I mean, what's going on there? So back to the whole theme of it's not your business. Who cares what your sexuality is? Who cares what you're having sex with? As long as everybody's consenting, everybody's an adult. I mean, I'm just tired of the bullshit. And so is this young man.
A United States Congresswoman, my Aunt Vicky, started crying because gay people like me can get married.
I hope and pray that my colleagues will find the courage to join me in opposing this misguided, this dangerous bill.
So despite coming out to my aunt this past February, I guess she's still just as much as a homophobe.
Let's be clear.
Wow.
Obergefell is not in danger, but people
and
institutions of faith are.
Aunt Vicky, that's not right. Institutions of faith like religious universities are not being silenced. They're being empowered by the US government to discriminate against tens of thousands of LGBTQ students because of religious exemptions, but they still receive federal funding.
The bill's implications: submit to our ideology or be silenced.
It's more like you want the power to force your religious beliefs onto everyone else. And because you don't have that power, you feel like you're being silenced. But you're not. You're just gonna have to learn to coexist with all of us. And I'm sure it's not that hard.
I love him. I love that guy.
If only it could be not that hard for that crowd of people.
It could be. It could be.
It
could
could
get
be,
their head in their ass.
But they won't let it go. I mean, the issue is, and he hit the nail on the head. Like everybody feels like, oh my God, you're taking rights away from me. You're destroying. No. Who somebody else marries has nothing to do with your marriage.
Doesn't have anything to do with your faith either.
It doesn't have anything to do with your faith. You believe whatever you want to believe. The only difference is that now they're telling you that you're not allowed to tell these people to go away and don't be seen. And that's the issue. It's not that, oh my God, these people are trying to take over. Nobody's trying to take over. They just want to be on equal footing with everybody else. And
they just want the same rights as we enjoy it. That's all.
Yeah.
It also goes to show you, because sometimes we're cynical on, I rarely consider myself on the left, but clearly I am. But like sometimes people on the left say, well, until they get a gay person in their family, they won't understand that. Well, here we have a lady who has a gay person in their family, and she still doesn't get it or want to get it or any of that. So it's not always that way, because y'all know the famous one, which is Dick Cheney. Was anti-gay until his daughter was gay. But
he wasn't. He never really changed his tune. He just stopped talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but you know what I mean. There are examples of this where people have these revolutions once their family. You know what I mean, and that's actually really, I'm cool with that as long as you get it. Like, I know it's a little bit cynical to just do it politically when all of a sudden you find a family, but if you're going to change, I don't care why you change, and I don't really care when. You just need to come around. So I understand the criticism, though, politically, though, but then you still have these asshats who are gay, voting against gay things, and it's just like, that's really, really interesting and self-defeating and self a lot of things. But go on, Doug. You're probably say it better than me.
So what I'm going to say is this thing that they're passing does not take away religious freedom to deny people gay. The churches and the religious entities are allowed to deny marriages between LGBT. That's still a thing. They just enshrine that They just enshrine it as if someone is married, you can't take that away from them. That's all this bill does. It doesn't it doesn't require churches to marry people who are gay or non-binary or trans. It doesn't deny them that ability in any capacity. They have the free pass because they can say, I'm a religious organization that's against my religious beliefs. It doesn't do anything that they say it does. They just want to battle it because it is a culture war. Because it's culture wars, and that's the only shit they can push. They can't rely on their policies. They can't rely on what they believe. All they can do is push culture wars and make people scared.
And lie about it.
And that's it.
Yeah.
And that's exactly it. Because again,
sorry about my soapbox.
I know that.
I mean, that's why we have
most.
Right?
I know that most of my queer friends, they have no desire to go have their wedding at a church that doesn't respect their right to exist.
Correct.
Like they do not want to have their wedding there. They just want to be able to have a wedding and be married and have the same rights and privileges and obligations as any other married person.
Be able to buy a cake at reasonable people who want to bake a cake for them, because apparently that's an issue. And the Supreme Court was like, well, you can deny that. Okay, great. Then fucking I get the y'all on the slippery slope when you start denying people, letting people deny people because they're gay. Y'all on a real fucking slippery slope. Because if I say QAnon, if you vote, I can just say if you voted for Trump, I don't want you in my fucking establishment. Now let's sue and go to the Supreme Court and see what they say. Let's go. Let's do it. Let's go. Because you voted for one person, I'm JD Vance, then I'm denying you all kinds of shit in Ohio. Because I think JD Vance is a piece of shit. Yes, that's my opinion, and I'm allowed to say that. And I'm allowed to say to Carrie Loon, bitch, whatever her. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to call her that. It's Carrie Loon Lake. Sorry, my bad. I didn't mean that. It slipped. Okay,
it did.
Cool. I'm allowed to deny her services and all her people's services. Don't even get Matt Strange started on Crystal Cinema. But that being aside, and I'm not going. I did try it, I know. But yeah. Anywho, let's get a little messy, Matt. Okay. Matt, so you as a food person, unless y'all, we can go back to politics if y'all want.
Yeah, let's go to food. No, let's get away to politics. We're talking about politics per bit.
Okay. We can go back. I'm not afraid. We're clearly not afraid to talk about
food. We'll get political about food.
Yes. So Doug has offensive opinions about this, in my opinion. So we're gonna ask this question. We can go a couple ways with this one, right, y'all?
How about one goes away? Let's put it that way.
No. How about no? Because I know what Doug, that makes it easy for you. Because I know what you're going to say.
You think what I know I'm going to say? Okay.
Oh, I think I do. So actually, let's play Doug's game.
And then we can play it a different way afterwards.
All right. Okay. One goes away. Doug, you are just as part, if not more, of the stream than me. So you go, since you want to dismiss one.
It's Chicago by a mile.
Stop.
Detroit
I
pizza.
knew it.
Detroit pizza is like actually a deep dish shit that's really fucking good. And
Detroit is amazing.
That Detroit pizza is awesome.
Yes, it's fucking amazing.
And
Matt, one has to go, buddy.
Well, 3 of them are pizza and one of them is a casserole. So I'm going to get rid of the Chicago casserole and keep the pizza.
I'm high.
I mean, don't get me wrong. It is a delicious casserole, but it's still a casserole.
All right, Greg, let's hear it.
Sorry, just being honest.
It's delicious. It's just it's not pizza to me. That's my
I'm with Doug on that one. It's just not pizza.
I'm going to see. Doug's probably going to laugh in my face, and Doug, you don't get to laugh. I have the power to remove fucking Doug from the street. Damn it, because I know he's going to laugh at me on this one. But unfortunately, it's absolutely going to be Chicago. But my reasoning is different than y'all's. My
Okay.
reasoning is Chicago's going to send me to the grave faster, Doug. Look at all that cheese,
Yeah.
all that dough. It's just too much. I was just in Chicago and my family had it. And my son is actually with y'all. He's not with y'all. He's actually further than y'all because he's just like, first of all, this ain't pizza. And second of all, I don't really like it. Like, it's just too much cheese. The sauce, what is it? My son's like, what is the sauce being on top? What does that add to the whole thing? And I'm like, just so if I had to get rid of one, it would be Chicago. And that's just because it's just so unhealthy for me. But I love it to death, Doug. So if I got rid of it, then it wouldn't be something that I wanted, if that makes sense. So then I would go through. But Detroit, though, especially with all those pepperonis, it looks like it had pepperoni on it. It doesn't. But Detroit, and then you have the pepperonis, Doug. That's not good for us.
Oh, it's not good for us. I'm saying it's delicious. I'm just saying,
right.
If I eat that, here's like a quarter slice, like a quarter little quarter, and that's what I get to have.
Those other two, though, Doug, St. Louis and New York, I could at least have maybe one or two, or you know what I'm saying? So, like, that's why I'm liking those. And I didn't know that Detroit, or I'm sorry, I didn't know that St. Louis was the cut.
That's a very thin crust pizza. It looks
I like that shit. So, Matt, where are you at?
Matt, where thin crust.
Yeah, Matt, where are you at with the rest of the three, though, man? So then, we'll get rid of Chicago, then rank the next three. Rank the next three.
Number one would be St. Louis.
Oh, okay.
That is my preference for the one that I like. The one that I like the most. When I order pizza, I want that like cracker thin crust on the bottom. Number two would probably be Detroit, and number three would be New York. I know that everybody loves New York pizza, but I just find it overly greasy. Like, I shouldn't have to use 4 napkins to soak up the grease before I take the first bite. I mean, it's not fried chicken. Now, good fried chicken, I should be able to like put it in a brown paper bag, and a few minutes later, I should be able to see through the bag.
Yeah,
you're killing me.
Greg, I have a recipe for fried chicken in an air fryer that has no grease, and it's delicious.
You're gonna send me that shit. But anyway, Doug, rank the runs that you didn't throw away 1 to 3.
Okay, 1 is actually going to be Detroit. Number 2, New York. Number 3, St. Louis.
Oh, okay.
New York is good. It's quintessential. I love the because you do in New York, you do the fold, and it's so good. But it is greasy as fuck. Like that's the downside to it. The thing is like what I find is like with pizza is there's a place near me that makes a big square pizza that's not quite Detroit style. It's not that tall. It's a little lower. But they make a square pizza with chicken speedies on it, which speedies is like basically a Greek marinade, and they marinate the chicken and they put on a pizza. It's the best pizza I've ever had. It's so fucking good. And what I think I need to do, Greg, is order some and then freeze it and send it to you because that shit is fucking awesome.
The next time I come out, we're doing it.
Yeah, and I'm going to tell you, it is one of those things like. I can only have 2 slices of pizza whenever we order pizza out because of the cheese and all the fucking.
Oh yeah, 2's my limit. Yep.
But that is the one I'm like, I'm all in. I'm gonna have a lot of places have pizza. I have 1 piece. Like but that one I'll eat 2, and I'll just be greedy and be like, I'm gonna eat salads all day. I don't give a shit. I'm having 2 slices of that pizza.
Right. And Jonathan, I think Matt's right. I think New York has an extra level of grease. Like, I think that's part of the whole experience is that, like, sopping that grease off. And then if you have pepperonis, it's just fucking out of here. It's not even right. Like,
it reminds me of, like, the Chicago dip sandwiches, like, where you dip the whole thing. And it's
yeah. So I don't think that, like, I don't think St. Louis or Detroit or Chicago really have that, like, Chicago should definitely not be greasy, actually. No. If it's greasy on the bottom, it should definitely not. This isn't, we're not talking about Pizza Hut pan pizza. We're talking about, you know what I mean, Chicago. Now, Detroit might get a little greasy because those edges are like, You know what I mean? Those, so that might get and I think they grease those pans, Matt. I'm not sure, but they might grease those pans. So that might, on the bottom might be greasy, but New York has that style where New York has how it's the top is just like
it's pooled grease across the top.
Yes, it absolutely
And when you
is.
go like this,
Right.
you hold it, just grease drips off the slice. If you hold it that way, if you're in like New York City, you're good. That's all the kind of pizza you're gonna get. Is you're just gonna get that super greasy shit. But
Yeah, but JHG, if you haven't had Detroit style, you need to, man. It's really, really fantastic.
I guarantee you, JHG, you can find a place in DC that's doing Detroit style because it's having like a moment
Renaissance, a little bit of
Yeah.
a renaissance. Yeah, for sure. And
Like,
it's just
it's getting talked about.
it's those crusty edges that really makes it though. It's like
cheese all the way to the end, and then you get those little crackly burnt bits.
Yes, and it's a better form of what we grew up with, and I know Doug knows it, and I'm pretty sure Matt knows because Matt knows you. Matt, you are an encyclopedia of fucking food, man. You and our boy
Jeffrey
Bernstein.
Jeffrey.
Yes, I'm sorry, I forgot his name, but
how many beers have you had?
Only 1.5, but like, how do I miss Jeffrey? But no, you and Jeffrey are like encyclopedias of food for us. So I know you know this, but what was I gonna say? Sicilian, like Detroit to me is a Sicilian +1. There was something always missing about Sicilian pizza. I like that it was deep, and I like that, you know what I mean, like the crust and all that. But there was always something missing, and I think Detroit does like. Detroit style is that Sicilian pizza that I love. You remember Sicilian pizza, right, Doug?
I do. And the thing is, so that's chicken speedy pizza that I mentioned that is earlier. It doesn't have red sauce. Well, a very thin layer of red sauce, but it's almost like a white garlic with this Greek.
Yeah. And Sicilian's like that too. Right. And Matt, do you remember Sicilian? It's like that too, where it has like little sauce, not that much sauce. You know what I mean?
Yeah. See,
and
the last pizza that I had, believe it or not, was with Quetzal Torres and Hogan Hilling.
Yeah.
Hogan had come through Durham, and we all like went to go hang out one night. So we went to this local pizza place that's around the block from my house, and everything is done to order. And like I did a pizza that was no red sauce. It was a pesto. And it was mortadella and olives and onion and
the olives I'm out and
I'm learning.
Oh, yeah.
I'm getting better with olives actually. But go on.
I'm trying to remember what the other thing that was on it. There was one more topping. It was another.
It sounds
meat.
Mediterranean.
Oh, it was their house-made Italian sausage. Was the other meat that was on
that
there.
sounds very Mediterranean, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it
Italian
was relatively light, you know, and they only sell everything but a whole pizza. So, you know, I ate half of it and brought the other half of it home, and my wife had that for breakfast the next morning, and she enjoyed it.
Yeah. Doug, you wanted me to show this one?
Yeah, because so we're not from New York City, and Daniel obviously is, but this is good to know. Like again, like if you go to Little Italy in New York City, you're just going to get that quintessential super drippy stuff. But it's nice to know ones that aren't like that you could go somewhere and you're not going to be worried about it being a grease bomb. You know. Wait,
Yes.
are we gonna get a demo?
Yes. And
Yes.
Matt, I want to say you look a little svelte today, man. You've been losing some weight with your athletic.
I have.
Good shit,
I
buddy.
have.
Good shit.
Well, it
Very
was a
nice.
busy year last year.
Very nice. Very nice. So yeah, I'm gonna put this on full screen here.
Yeah.
Doug,
so what beer did you put in there?
That was the maple brown ale.
Okay, I just wanted to know what you were going to pour there.
Look at that.
That's really cool that you can make it into that. That's some goddamn thing that
Wait. And then if you punch back the other way, it gives the last bit of aeration for the head.
Oh, that's clever.
Interesting. I'm sorry. I love that. I don't mean to be calling it dumb shit, but
yeah, it's absolutely amazing. And you know, to answer the question that everybody asks, no, it doesn't completely empty the can. It leaves about one swallow. in the bottom. So, I mean, it's not bad. But, I mean, again, to be able to get that off of a canned non-alcoholic beer.
Now I'm going to have to get me one of those because you know what I want to do that with? A Guinness, the Guinness NA. I want to see how that
well, the Guinness NA already comes in a nitro can.
It does. But I want to experiment and see how fucking much it gives me because I'm a dork and I want to see how it looks.
I will say that when
he's going to age it 6 months before. But
when I tried to do my year-old Gravitas in this, when I put the straw in, it just started spraying foam all over the inside of it. and literally I had to take everything aside, wash it, and just pour it in the glass. Yeah. So I know I'm not aging them ever again.
You know me, JHD.
Well, you were talking about losing weight. So the last time I was on, I had done my first ever sprint triathlon. It was a year, not this October, but the October before. I had done one of these triathlons, and the whole thought was that Athletic had done a challenge to its ambassadors for their 3-year anniversary. The idea was to do a triathlon over the 3-day weekend of Memorial Day. So you had to swim for 30 straight minutes, bike for 30 miles, and run for 3 miles. But you had 3 days to do it. So the wife was working one day, so I couldn't do it that day because I wasn't going to take the kids to the gym because COVID, and they weren't vaccinated. So I did it in 2 days, and at the end of 2 days, I told my wife, this was really kind of neat. If I can do this in 2 days, I could do all this in 1 day. And to her credit, her immediate response was, "Well, yeah, but why would you want to?"
That was my comment.
No, that was her exact comment. I said, I really can't explain it, but I'm 49. I'm about to turn 50 years old, and I feel like I should do something big before I hit 50. It's a big number. And the plan was I'm going to do this one thing and check it off the bucket list and never do it again. And I did it. And I finished it, and it was painful. And as I sat there on the grass, the only thought in my head was, when can I do this again? So last year, I went completely overboard. I did 5 of them. I did 4 sprint triathlons, and then I went back to the one that I did for my first triathlon and stepped up to the Olympic distance. So it was just under a mile swim. A 1.5 kilometer swim, which is 0.93 miles, then a 25-mile bike ride, and then a 10K run. And I did it, and I didn't come in dead last. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm very, very much in the back of the pack. When I say I wasn't last, there were 1, maybe 2 people behind me, but I finished. Next year, I'm signed up. My first one is going to be in April. And then I'm doing 2 more. One of them is in August, and the other one is in October. And both of the second 2 are going to be Olympic distance. And probably in 2024, we're going to step up the training pretty seriously and start working towards the 70.3 half Ironman distance.
Wow.
Because the end goal is I'm gonna do the full 140.6 Ironman.
Man, that's ambitious and fucking awesome. So here's my ambition.
Well,
would you like to hear
my
ambition?
doctor is happy about it.
Yeah. Let me tell you my ambition. I had talked to my wife about this, and so I've talked ad nauseum about this, but the November before last, I had a heart attack. I had 5 stents put in my heart. And my goal, I think, next year is I actually want to do a 5K. And I want to finish it. That's all I want to do. I just want to finish one. And if it takes me fucking 40 minutes to do it, I don't give a shit. I just want to do it because I want to be able to show that I can do it. That is that's so much smaller than what you're doing. I'm just I'm fucking.
My personal record time on a 5K is 39 minutes. Okay. 40 minutes is an achievement. My first 5K took me almost an hour.
Well, I would like to say that as a reference point, when I was in high school, I ran cross country, and my fastest 5K was 18 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah. See,
I'm gonna be happy if I just double that. That's what I'm hoping for.
I'm still not capable of running a 5K straight through. Like, I'm very much in the run half a mile, walk a quarter mile, run half a mile, walk half a mile, run a quarter mile, walk a little more. But to me, the whole goal is just to keep moving. I really enjoy the swimming leg of it. I really enjoy the biking leg of it. I hate every moment of time that I am running. There's nothing pleasant about running at all for me. I hate all of it.
Yeah. My problem is, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I would say, but I get to go on a really nice bike ride right beforehand, so it makes you feel a little better.
Yeah, my big worry about it is actually my knees, because my knees are shit from 40 plus years of playing basketball and fucking all that. That shit takes a toll on your knees. And
stretch.
I can walk miles. I could hike and walk for 10 miles, and that's not a problem. Running is a completely different beast for that, because it's way harder on your knees. So I'm a little concerned about how that's going to go, but I want to be able to do it.
Don't be proud. Strap on some knee braces, man.
Yeah, and I'm okay with that, but it's something that I just thought I'd love to be able to show myself, because Greg, I don't know if you feel this, but it's a year plus and I am still fretting about stuff that every meal, what am I doing? Is this too hard? And it is weird, because there is a trauma to that process that I generally don't like admitting, but it's fucking there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's how it is for me. It's just I'm just now starting to get to a point where I'm understanding I have 500 milligrams of sodium at breakfast. That's okay. I still have 2,000 milligrams that I can have throughout the rest of the day. For the first year, it was fuck, I can't eat anything the rest of the day. That's how my brain was working. So the idea of doing a 5K, yes, JG mentioned that biking is better for the knees. It is. I just don't have a good bike. I have a shitty Walmart bike.
That's okay.
But I don't have places to practice really around here, because there's not a lot of bikes.
I'll say that I will give you. Just don't ever think that that not having a good bike makes a difference. This last year at the Ironman World Championships in Kona, Hawaii, one of the top-rated women Ironman contenders, who has won multiple world titles in her past, hit a moment in her career where she looked up and she's like, this stopped being fun. It became work. Yeah. And so she went into the World Championships in Kona and said, screw it. She rode a fat tire bike with a basket and a bell and streamers. She had cakes and stuff in the basket to eat while she was riding. And she did the 112 miles of an Ironman in Hawaii on a fat tire bike. And she still got a great time. Having a good bike helps. I mean, the saying in triathlon is there's only, of the three disciplines, you can only buy speed in one of them. You can't buy a faster run or a faster swim, but you can buy better bearings, better wheels, a lighter weight bike. But it doesn't matter. I could go out and buy a $20,000 bike, and I'm still not going to be able to keep up with the sponsored professional athletes.
No,
because their engine is way better than my engine,
and they do that all day. That's their job. So yeah, big difference.
Correct.
Yeah.
So
absolutely. But
can I switch gears on y'all?
I think that's awesome, Doug. Go for it. Yeah, switch.
Yes.
Switch what?
Can I switch gears on y'all?
Yes, please.
Sure.
Totally.
What are we switching to now?
We're totally. We're gonna go to Mostly 80s.
Maybe we agree to something bad.
No.
Mostly 80s?
I mean, we like,
Okay.
yeah, mostly
you're
80s.
You're in my happy place now.
Here we go. So, which of these shirts would y'all rock?
Journey.
Because
I'm
in
a
the
dork.
80s, in the 80s, it would have been the Pink Floyd shirt. That would be the closest to what I would have been wearing.
I love the Pink Floyd shirt. Yes.
I mean,
But go on.
if you had thrown in like a Dead Kennedys or a Black Flag or
Sure.
Agent Orange, I would have been
Li-
on those.
Little Punk.
Yeah. Come on, I was an upper middle class white suburban kid. I had to rebel somehow.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's
My
good.
my rebellion was Public Enemy, so that's a bit of a difference from all this shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Journey or Pink Floyd?
Also, why are there 2 Def Leppard shirts?
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Hey, Def
Because
Leppard
they
was
couldn't
huge
think of
back then,
anybody
man.
else.
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
They were.
And Def Leppard made me think about this one. But so if you take away who the artist is, how about that? To me, the coolest one is Steve Miller here. Sorry. It's cool.
Absolutely.
Look at the unicorn. Look at those look at that rainbow shit. That
Pegasus,
shit's really,
not a
really
unicorn.
psychedelic and cool. And Journey's really,
Pegasus,
really
not a
cool
unicorn,
too.
man.
But if it's my favorite one, it would definitely be the Pink Floyd. And then it would be the Def Leppard. I was a huge Def Leppard fan. You remember the Def Leppard Guns N' Roses wars? Remember that? That was like old school, like where and like people were going at each other. Guns N' Roses, Def Leppard. And I was like, why? That was one of the first times in my life I'm like, why can't it be both? Like, why can't people like both and be fine with that? Like, so yeah, I'm gonna definitely go with a firmly Pink Floyd because it's Pink too. And I never really rocked Pink, but I should have more. And not really cared about that whole, but that was a different time, obviously.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I rocked a little bit of Pink back in the early to mid 80s during that whole preppy phase.
Yeah, and then I got another one here that's kind of the same. So, the question for this one is, and this is a hard one.
Okay.
Who had the most impactful career? Impactful.
Put that thing up again. Put that thing up again because
What, this?
Yeah.
Of those?
No. I'm gonna do a new graphic.
New group.
Okay. Actually, that's a great question for
let's do
this
it with
one,
this
though.
one, and then we'll do it with the next one.
That's a great, right. That's a good one for this one, though. Who had the most impactful career? And I think Def Leppard is the only one still going, right? Or is Journey still going?
I would say Pink
Or Steve
Floyd.
Miller still going?
I'm pretty sure. I think it's AC/DC. That would be my vote.
Most impactful?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
I would say Pink Floyd. Pink Floyd's been producing albums since the late 60s. They were an influence in the late 60s with the early psychedelic movement, with Piper at the Gates of Dawn, Saucer Full of Secrets, Amagama, and Metal. Then you moved into the early progressive rock when they started doing, the albums like, The Wall, Wish You Were Here, The Final Cut, Zabriskie Point, and then all the way up into the 90s and 2000s with Division Bell and the rest of it.
Yeah.
I mean, Pink Floyd was out there for a good 40, 50 years.
So was AC/DC. And as in more current, they actually had been touring more recently, but one of their I think it's one of their guitarists actually had like a mental breakdown and couldn't join them after that, or had some sort of, was it Parkinson's, or he had something where he couldn't be part of the band anymore. But that was a rock band. That is the quintessential fucking rock goddamn band that spanned decades. And that's why I think.
And they had two lead singers too, which is interesting. You normally, I mean, we can speak to a couple bands that had two lead singers on Black Sabbath, and we can get on a list. But they, AC/DC kind of just had it go and just rolled with it. Like normally, you can't just lose a lead singer and be
so
like,
did Journey. By the way, so did Journey.
Oh,
Journey
did
had
they?
2 lead singers?
Journey had Steve Perry, and he quit the band over his
Yes.
differences. And they found a
Yes.
Filipino guy who sounds exactly like him, who's been their singer for like 12 years.
Damn!
I did not know that. I did
Didn't
not
know
know
that
that. I
too.
thought Steve
Yeah,
Perry
it's-
was the only singer.
No, he was the guy. And yeah, the riff wise, you're right. AC/DC riffs are fucking badass. Like,
Oh,
you can't-
absolutely.
You can't beat their riff.
Iconic.
And the only one that the only riffs, the only band that has maybe better riffs than AC/DC is Queen.
I'm not.
That is a whole other level.
Yeah,
of band.
that's a whole.
Oh.
Yeah.
Daniel's right. Black Sabbath, Van Halen, Journey.
Yep.
But Black Sabbath, Van Halen, and I'm not sure about Journey. Doug's gonna, but
Journey.
Black
Journey's
Sabbath
the
and
one
Van Halen were guitar driven. Not that again, not that the lead singer didn't matter, but obviously Eddie Van Halen and Tony Iommi. Tony Iommi. I'm sorry, I never really got that right. Clearly, were killer guitarists, and were able to like stabilize when Ozzy and everybody else was going back and forth and doing all that shit. So
All right, now, I'm dying
yeah.
to know what's the next. What was the next grouping though?
Oh, we'll get to. I didn't forget about that shit. We'll get to it. Okay,
Okay.
so again, this one is fucking interesting, and it may take us fucking 40 minutes to hash it all out. But who had the most? After you want to do third beers now, Doug, or you want to get into this impactful
Yeah,
one now?
let me do it because I want a third beer. Also, Matt, tell me how that is with the draft.
The Maple Brown. Oh, it's fantastic. I find that the physics thing, I find that it adds a whole lot to the mouthfeel because it does set up those little micro bubbles, which really helps you get a little bit more of a fuller and heavier mouthfeel. And it makes a big difference, especially with the NAs that tend to be a little on the on the lighter side.
Wow.
Nice.
Oh, okay.
I think I'm going to have to look into that because I would be interested to do that.
I'm telling you, they
Especially
sell
the
them. They sell them on Amazon. And apparently they were on Shark Tank at some point and got backed on Shark Tank.
That's impressive, I guess.
I mean, I don't know. The other NA company that I've really been enjoying makes an NA spirit called Gia. And I was really proud of her because she went on Shark Tank and somebody offered her what she wanted. And she decided that she wanted to hear if anybody would give her anything better. And he's like, no, you take it or leave it right now. And she said, no, I want to hear what the other people say. And the other people offered her a worse deal. And she said, fuck it, and walked away.
Wow.
Ballsy.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
which to her credit, awesome. But
Awesome.
they're lighting the world on fire. Yeah,
Right,
Gia
and-
is one of those spirits that isn't trying to be something else. It's very much its own thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I've seen that on like Facebook ads and stuff. So I'll have to pick up some of their stuff.
Speaking of very much your own thing, Doug.
Yeah, so I'm going to go with something that's on my shirt tonight, Weathered Souls.
Oh, jealous.
Yeah, so this is their Thin Mint Frapped Imperial Stout.
Oh,
This is 11.3%. This
Lord,
was
This is a
man,
Doug
you're going
beer.
hard tonight.
This
So
is a
this-
Doug beer. It has
Yeah, so-
Doug written all over
Yes,
it.
it does.
Adjuncts,
Is that
large ABV.
yep?
Is it dark?
All me.
It's all Doug. It couldn't be more Doug.
So when I was
You lost me at Thin Mint.
Yeah, well,
Well, again, me
So-
too, but whatever.
so Weathered Souls, as Greg knows, this is like the Weathered Souls was the one that began the Black is Beautiful beer movement.
Yes.
They opened a facility in I think it's Asheville, and I was like surprised to have like, well, then I have to go there. This was their lightest stout option. Their lightest. They had stouts there that were like 17%, and I was like, holy shit, I'm not going to be able to drive. Like, but I would just get these little pours like this so I could taste them. And Greg, I did send you a photo of the one that I got that I said the next time you and I are hanging out, we're sharing this.
Oh, yeah.
And it was a Weathered Souls beer aged in Uncle Nearest barrels. So a
Yes.
completely black owned beer barrel aged
Blackity black, city black.
And
Yes.
that shit was like $22 a bottle. So we'll have to really enjoy that. But
Yes.
I didn't care because where the fuck else am I going to get that, right? So
Right.
There you go.
So
correct.
So look at this, pours like fucking motor oil.
It's blackity black.
Oh.
Look at that. Yeah.
Oh,
that shit's
nice.
Amazing.
So the mint stuff is like popping right into your schnoz, right, as you take a whiff of that. So, but even the head is like a dark brown. You can't see it because the light's not great, but so I have had this before. So this it's I so you're expecting like this heavy barrel aged fucking minty thing, and it's all smooth. It's just fucking smooth. Like you could just drink the shit out of it, and that's a problem because it's 11.3%. So it is a dessert. It's a dessert stout on par with like creme brulee, Greg. That's high praise. Creme brulee is like my favorite dessert stout ever. It's not as good as that. That is the Rolls Royce, but this is a notch below that. This is really, really good. And I think I still have another can of this, so I'm going to try to keep it for when. I'll bring that with the Uncle Nearest beer when we hang out like that. Maybe in Milwaukee, if you will accept a guy who's not a stay-at-home dad.
We totally will. Are you a dad?
Yep.
Are you at home?
Right now, yes.
We've kind of, I will say, as an organization and as a board over the last few years, especially with the onset of COVID, we've kind of changed our focus away from like the guys like me who are 100% stay-at-home dad. Like that's my job is, I'm here to be dad for the kids. But there's a whole lot, we discovered during COVID, there's a whole lot more dads who are at home who aren't necessarily stay-at-home dads. Like they might be working from home. There's a lot of dads who are like the primary caregiver because their wife does shift work and she's working nights. So we've kind of moved away from that whole stay-at-home dad and moved to just the at-home dad. So because there was a whole lot of guys that reached out during COVID and because they were home.
Yeah.
And, we're all going through the same thing. So if we can help out anybody, we're there. So yes, you are more than welcome to come, Doug.
And the other thing is, as we've kind of know now that Dad 2.0 is not ever going to really happen again. And I miss the camaraderie of that stuff. I mean, it's unlikely. We had a thing when Tom, and we're not going to go into the details, but one of our friends passed away, and the leader of Dad 2.0 said, we have to get together somehow. But he didn't mention anything about doing another Dad 2.0 or anything. That's kind of, I think we can all agree that that's going to be kind of by the wayside. But I miss the dad camaraderie. I miss going and hanging out with fellow dads, just kind of hanging out with folks.
Talking about dad shit.
Talking about dad shit, talking about anything. And the thing that I missed about Dad 2.0 the most, which sounds really goofy, is the vulnerability of people talking about how shit
Top
is.
Sheets.
Yeah. And Top Sheets was kind of like a boon for this fucking show in a weird way.
It was a boon for Dad too that year for sure.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But that was also too. I'm pretty sure that was my introduction to NA beers too. Matt showed up with that, and Matt was like,
the Lagunitas.
Yeah, Matt showed up with that shit, and he's like, "Yo,
y'all
know
with the hop water."
I was gonna say, y'all know about hop water. Y'all know about all this shit. We're like, "What are you talking about?" And Matt just was like the bartender and shit. He's like, "Here, try this shit, motherfuckers." So it was amazing.
Well, the thing is, you got to understand. At the point that I got to Dad 2, I had really just started getting into the craft NA beer in like the last 6 months. And like in my mind had just been blown because the last time I had tried a non-alcoholic beer, it was like, the 80s, the O'Doul Sharps, just, the sadness water.
Sadness water.
You know, and then I turned around and
Sadness
started actually
water.
finding ones that were good, and it was like a whole new world. I wanted to share it with everybody.
Ain't that some shit? It's gonna take me a little bit to get over that one. I never heard that shit. Sadness water. I feel that. I feel it.
Feel free to use that to describe beers that you come across that make you
Sadness.
feel that way.
Yes, I'm going to steal it, but I will
There's
make
a
sure
lot of
I.
alcoholic beers that make me think that. So yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Matt, can I ask you a question about a particular NA beer? Because I've never had it, and I've heard positive and negative. Heineken, the Heineken one. What do you think of them?
The Heineken Zero, I've had it. They did an absolutely amazing job of making a non-alcoholic beer that tastes just like Heineken. And that's the downside for me. Is that I didn't like Heineken back when I drank. Right? But I mean, like, honestly, they did an amazing job. It tastes like Heineken. Like, when of all places, when I went to Home DadCon in Cincinnati, I went out to dinner one night. Like the first night I was there, I went out to grab a bite to eat with Frank Kuiper, and we're at this restaurant. And I'm like, "Do y'all have any non-alcoholic beer?" And they're like, "Yeah, we have Heineken." And I'm like, "Well, I guess I'm going to try the Heineken Zero." And I got one, and my first thought was, "Smells and tastes just like Heineken. Don't need to buy that again."
Yeah.
You know, I mean, again, don't get me wrong. I know that there are people who love Heineken, and if you are a fan of Heineken, then go for it. It is a fantastic job of making something that tastes like Heineken.
I just
one last note on Milwaukee, Doug.
I have to discuss it with Jill, and she and I are still planning our trip for next year because we always do a trip. But I think she would be completely cool with that. And I think I would drive out and drive to your place, and then we would go together like we did with Dad 2.0 when we went to DC, if you're okay with that.
Yeah.
That'd be fantastic. We'd love to have you both, man. That'd be great.
We can do it. We can do this show from there.
Think, you could do this show from there, and more importantly, Greg, just think you could show up at the beer share and just sit back and enjoy and not have to do shit.
When has Greg done that at a bottle share? Never.
Yeah, but and also I got a lot of connections in Milwaukee, so
dude,
hey, if I come there, you better take me to Venture. That's where I want to go. That's where I want to go.
So if y'all need any connections in Milwaukee to any breweries, y'all need to talk to me because I got a lot of but if you don't want to, that's cool.
We'll make sure that we send Joe Saladino your way because he's the chairman of the Beer Share Committee. He's got a whole team working with him.
Thanks for the warning, but it's cool. I'll talk to him. Anywho,
people,
you're not getting any. Hey, man, I would say thanks for the warning to you. So it's all good. So we're gonna get to this real quick. Impactful careers. Think about this one. It's not easy.
Okay.
I mean, so you got Michael Jackson, the king of pop. He touched everybody. He was worldwide.
Yeah, he literally did.
Yes. Ha ha ha. But also, though, literally, the man is still top 100 on Spotify. Period. This is 20 years, Doug, after he's dead. Or no, is it 10? It's 10. I'm sorry. It was 2011, I believe. So it was 22, so it's 11. You have Betty White, who almost made her 100th birthday. And this woman was working for what, 80 years of that? Like, she was so impactful, especially in the early days with the civil rights and pushing women's issue and pushing women and all these different media things. We have Robin Williams, who I shouldn't even have to say anything about Robin Williams in a comedy thing. He was impactful. Unfortunately, he took his own life, and that even made him, with all due respect, bigger than life. More impactful. And then you have Kobe, who is the athletic person on this list. But Kobe's another one who left us early. and ended up just blowing up. Yes, he had this, rape thing, but he literally career-wise made it past that, and was still a huge player. So I'm going to talk about this a little bit first. Kobe is last on this list for me, because again, I almost have to say that like there are probably bigger basketball stars who had more impactful careers and that are still going, with all due respect, like even Shaq. And Shaq and Kobe came up together. They were on the same team. And I would still have to say at this point, Shaq is more impactful culture-wise than Kobe is, for sure. So I'm going to drop Kobe out of this one. And to me, I'm going to say Michael Jackson. And the reason is because, again, the man is still impacting everything now. Not that the other two aren't, but I'm going to go with Michael Jackson, and I understand if y'all go a different way. Matt, what do you got?
Honestly, as far as Kobe goes, I'm not a sports guy. So to me, like, I know his name, which tells me he had to at least have been somewhere big, but not really impactful to me. As far as Betty White, like, in hindsight, I know about a lot of what Betty White did in her youth, but like, I know Betty White from her late life fame that popped up when she became like a thing.
The Golden Girls, or before that?
Post Golden Girls.
Oh, okay.
Like again, when the Golden Girls came on, it was a show, people watched it, but like Betty White was not like some superstar. It really wasn't until after the Golden Girls went off the air that she became this cult figure.
Okay.
Honestly, I was the latecomer, and that's when I came to that.
Gotcha.
For me, it's between Robin Williams and Michael Jackson. And I got to go in the same direction that you did, Greg. I got to go with Michael Jackson. I mean, the fact is, if you ask somebody, I mean, I'm 50. If you ask somebody from my generation about seminal memories of your life, like I literally remember watching the premiere of the 18-minute Thriller video on MTV Live.
Yes.
When that thing premiered, and every person I knew was glued in front of that TV waiting for it to come on. And then, his influence continued to go. I know the man's problematic. I know that there's issues with him. Like so many other artists, sometimes you just have to separate the art from the artist.
Yes, sir.
And the fact is, to this day, if I'm in the car and a Michael Jackson song comes on the radio, there's a 90% chance that I'm going to crank it and sing along to every lyric with absolutely no shame. Now, the one place that I think Robin Williams had more influence than Michael Jackson did.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Is I think Robin Williams brought a lot of attention to mental health. Robin Williams brought a lot of attention to mental health that Michael Jackson did not.
Right. He still does.
He shocked the whole world. Yeah, he shocked the whole world when he took his life, because everybody's like, what do you mean? He's this happy comedian guy who's always bouncy and high energy and living this great life. And it was one of the first times in my life that I remember seeing that whole like realization that no one's life is perfect, that we all have our demons. And yeah, you were talking about, oh God, Comic Relief is what it was called. Yep. JHG. Comic Relief. It was him, Whoopi Goldberg, and Billy Crystal that used to do the big razor for homelessness.
Yep.
Yeah. He used to do the whole routine about how what the way to take care of the homeless was that we needed to get rid of all the golf courses and build houses for the homeless on the golf courses.
I never heard that shit.
That was Carlin. That was Carlin that did that, but yeah.
Oh, was that?
That was
it Carlin that was saying build a house?
Another one who's
okay. Yeah. And let the rich folks tangle with the mini golf course.
Yeah, but they were in like complete alignment with that. Yeah, you're right. He mentioned that, but Carlin was the one that said in a routine, but Robin Williams kind of ripped on that too. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Mm.
But I mean, he did a whole lot of great movies and was a huge influence. I mean, even back as far as I remember being a kid and seeing Mork from Ork show up on Happy Days. You know, granted, this is just before they jumped the shark. They brought in aliens first, then they
Literally jumped the
sharks
shark
on water skis.
Literally jumped the shark. But yes.
Well, look,
yes.
I'm not gonna lie. Maybe it's just because I'm old, but one of the things that I'm most excited about with having Home Dad Con in Milwaukee is the fact that I get to go get pictures with Bronzy. No.
Yes,
they got a life-size bronze Fonzie that they call Bronzy. Like I am gonna get so many pictures with Bronzy. I'm all about it.
Right on the river there. It's a really cool place. It really is.
Yeah. The hotel is actually on the river. Is like within a couple blocks of the Riverwalk.
Look at that.
Yeah, we're like we're gonna be at the Hyatt downtown.
I don't even know where that is. It doesn't matter. But anyway, yes, I feel you, Matt. Doug, where are you at with this one?
Right.
Oh, I'm sorry. Hold on, Doug. Matt, were you done?
I was just going to say, but again, as much influence as Robin Williams has had, I still have to say that Michael had more influence.
Yeah, it's a tough one for me, but yeah, where you at, Doug?
All right, so as much as it pains me to say Kobe is last, and I'm a basketball nut, so like I always fucking disliked Kobe Bryant because I thought he was a selfish guy, like in the basketball court. Then he had his issues off the court, which we're not going to belabor, which it just kind of carried the selfishness. What's interesting is later on in his career, he kind of became this mentor for younger players. There's a whole bunch of stories about with one of the Olympic teams where the guys were all coming in at like 4 and 5 in the morning from like hanging out. And they met him in the elevator as Kobe was leaving to go work out because he didn't go out. He just was obsessed with being good. And he influenced a lot of the basketball players that way. Great. Betty White is third for me, but it's not an easy one because she was part of civil rights shit. Like she was part of women's rights. Like she was all about that kind of shit and fucking she was a badass and fucking hilarious.
Such a fucking badass. Oh my God.
So
she almost defines it, actually. She almost defines that term when it comes to a woman. Really though. Like, woof.
So it becomes down to two entertainers. It comes down to two entertainers.
Yeah.
And here's the problem for me. Michael Jackson has a taint on him I can't get rid of.
Okay.
I cannot get rid of that taint. Robin Williams was like this. He was a tortured soul who was a genuinely nice human who was fucked up and had his things he was trying to work through. He had mental issues. He talked publicly about depression, like in a time when people didn't talk about fucking depression. Like nobody talked about that shit. And he was talking about it. And he's done some of the most amazing, iconic roles, from being fucking silly, from Mrs. Doubtfire, to being completely serious. And
thank you for mentioning Mrs. Doubtfire.
And being completely earnest in Good Will Hunting. I still think that might be his
Good
best
Will
role.
Hunting. Thanks for mentioning that one.
And just his ability to portray a range of things when he was just comedic fucking genius. Like he was a genius guy and a master improviser. Like there's not a lot of people that can improvise. Like when you see people that are comics that can improvise, like you look at something like, I'm going to give you Whose Line Is It Anyway? If everybody has seen that show, that shit is awesome because those people are like, here's this thing, now go. And you're just like, okay, figure this out on the fly. And not a lot of people can do that. And he did it all the time and was superb at it. But it's not just that. It's just, he brought a warmth to things that I like, that I don't think a lot of people still remember. Is just the idea of him just being like a warm person, even in any role. And I remember him remember the movie 1 Hour Photo?
Mm-hmm.
Where he played a bad guy.
Killer?
Yeah. and
Thank
it was just
you, JHG.
Yeah, Fisher King was fucking great. Like he did goddamn a serial killer and pulled it off as like an empathetic figure in ways. Like it was almost like how do you do that? Like he was a great actor. He was a superb comedian. He was a vulnerable human. And for those reasons, that's my go-to if I'm going to pick one. Patch Adams is a goddamn great movie, an underrated one of his.
And I'll pull out the one that nobody wants to talk about that I think is one of the most impressive roles that he did, even though it was a terrible, terrible movie. And that is the fact that that man 100% completely brought Popeye to life. A freaking caricature of a cartoon. And if you've ever watched the movie,
watch that dumb shit. Watch that dumb shit. Please watch that dumb shit. I've seen that. Watch that dumb shit. And I say dumb shit, and with all due respect, can be, you know what I mean, that can be given to dumb shit. Like, that was some dumb shit, but that was pretty good.
But it was good. He did an amazing Popeye.
Right. Oh my God, I have it. Right. Oh my God, I forgot about Popeye. I almost did it till you said that shit. And it wasn't, listen, it's not his fault. He acted. It wasn't his fault that the script was kind of thin. But
the script was awful.
But I don't know, Matt. I don't know if that shit could ever live up to his expectations. Coming up as a kid I love Popeye, so it was almost hard for. I think our expectations were so high for that film, knowing that Robin Williams was doing it. It just would have almost never really lived up, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? But it was good though. It was a fun.
He made a badass Popeye.
JHG, check it out. Don't keep your expectations low, but it will be fun. Seeing Robin Williams in that shit.
Just remember, he was on so much.
Yeah,
he could barely hold still.
He was at a Stevie Nicks level of cocaine at that point. Yes.
Yeah, like if you watch the movie within 5 minutes of it starting, there will be no doubt in your mind that he is on all of the cocaine.
And I think everything
he's on all of the
but everything in the 80s is on cocaine in some way. I think that's when shit like HR Puffin stuff gets greenlit, you know those people are high as shit when they greenlit that stuff.
Seals and
Croft. Shut up, Dave.
Or PCP, both.
Right.
Why not both?
Right. Well, so to me, wrapping this little segment up, and I thought this was also interesting too, because they're all none of them are with us now. So it's almost like, you know what I mean, that kind of has a gate it also adds another element to this graphic, in my opinion. Because I think looking at this, they almost all became even more bigger than life and being deceased. And by the way each of them went out. They all went out. Michael Jackson was killed. Robin Williams took his own life. Betty White almost made it to 100. Kobe got killed in some crazy, helicopter thing. Right. They all have this different kind of like element of the way that they left us, that kind of like really cemented like all their legacies, if that even made sense to y'all. And I just think it's fascinating that this graphic was made. Shout out to this motherfucker real quick. Damian Scott. He's the one, the mad scientists follow him. He's the one that I get all this. I got this graphic from. He does it on Twitter. It's a really good, it's really cool. And there's also a little debate going on. So that's where I steal all those, just so you know. But I try to give this guy credit almost every time or every other week, because he comes up with it. And it's just, they're always great discussion pieces. And Doug wants to, or Doug, can I say that? Is that cool?
Yeah, please do. I
Doug wants to do. Yeah, you say it, Doug. It's your words.
Yeah, I want to do one where it's like, these people passed early. Who would have had the best career out of them? Like, I'm thinking of like, here's I'm going to give you an example: Kurt Cobain,
Jimi Hendrix,
Aaliyah, Jimi Hendrix.
Yeah.
Amy Winehouse.
Amy Winehouse. You took
like all, and if we just do that 27-year-old curse and just
Marvin Gaye.
Marvin Gaye. Oh my God, yeah. Poor Marvin, man. He was killed by his stepdad. That's so fucked up.
He was killed. Oh yeah. I thought it was his son.
No, was it his son? It was one of his family that murdered him, and I was like. Yeah.
Let's
Yeah.
Daniel probably know this one.
Heath Ledger. Somebody mentioned Heath
Heath
Ledger.
Ledger.
That's a great
Yeah,
one.
hold on. Let's look at Marvin Gaye real quick.
The night the music died, which was that the
the
Big Bopper? Was that the Big Bopper? Richie Valens?
we have
we have a million of them we could do, but I think that would be a fascinating one to do.
That would be. We should come up with it ourselves. Let's see here. Before Daniel's gonna get to Marvin Gaye was shot and killed by his father, Marvin Gaye Sr. Yes. All right, Doug. Cool. Well, that's not cool, but cool that you were right.
I somehow
cool that you were right.
Right. I can't remember why the fuck I walk in the other room. What did I forget? But I can remember dumb shit like that. So
right. Pantera. Who is the famous?
Darryl.
Who's the famous Ozzy guitarist? Randy Rhoads. Right. Is that Randy Rhoads? Yeah, Randy Rhoads was amazing guitarist. Left us in his 20s or something. I mean, so yeah, Doug, that's a great one.
Train and he did a Crazy Train with Ozzy, and then I think not long after that passed.
Yeah, maybe I'll tweet Mr.
Freddie Mercury. Oh,
Freddie Mercury. Maybe I'll tweet Damien here.
He just fucking wins.
I'm gonna tweet Damien and see if he'll put up a graphic for us, but we should do that ourselves. Diary of Your Man was a masterpiece. Absolutely.
I'll throw out the uber obscure one. Although he did not die early. Although he didn't die early, I'll throw out Buddy Bolton. He was a New Orleans trumpet player. Buddy Bolton is the reason that Louis Armstrong exists. There is a single photograph of Buddy Bolton on the planet. He created that whole like brash trumpet style of play that Louis Armstrong became famous for. But Buddy Bolton's mind broke, and he spent most of the entire end of his life after he was about 30 institutionalized in the southeastern Louisiana mental institution, which was just outside of where I grew up in Mandeville, where he was forbidden to touch any musical instrument, and he cut hair until he died in complete obscurity.
That's fucking terrible.
Wow.
Yeah, but like again, he was one of those like I read a biography about him when I first started getting really into New Orleans jazz, and it was just fantastic.
Yeah, wow. I'm gonna say before we move on, I'm gonna say Otis Redding died here in Madison. He died in a plane crash into one of these lakes here, actually.
That's a good one.
Yeah. Fascinating conversation. I knew that would take us somewhere. What's up, Doug? You have something to say?
Yeah, and I was trying to think of Bill Withers didn't die like young. He died in his 50s, I think. He just stopped recording because the music industry was fucking him over. So he's not a good.
But he definitely died. You know, he definitely left us too early. He was an amazing musician.
I could see that.
Absolutely. And so yeah, fellas, we're going to it's that time of the stream, y'all, that we do this. So we're gonna start with our guest, Doug, because he has a show that he wants to talk about that I'm hearing really great things about. So I would love to hear what he thinks about it, which is we're going to put the graphic up, and Doug, it'll give you some time to tee up what you're going to talk about. I assume I didn't verify that you had one, but I assume you got one. I have one every week. But Matt Strain wants to talk about this one, y'all.
Yeah.
What's going on, Matt?
I'm a weirdo. You know, I went through a goth phase. I went through a punk phase. I've always loved the Addams Family. You know, I remember the old black and white TV show. I remember, you know, the Raul Julia and Christina Ricci ones that came out in the 80s. And I was really excited to see this one when it was coming out. I even enjoy the cartoon versions that they've done recently. When this one came out, I was intrigued because it wasn't focusing on the whole family. It was just focusing on Wednesday. And I'm not going to lie. I think I binged it in like 4 days tops. It's a great show. I mean, I really enjoyed it. I mean, I'm not the market that it's aimed at. I am way too old. It is obviously aimed at a younger teenage audience. It reminded me as I was watching it a whole lot of like that whole Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Angel, that kind of vibe where they're dealing with like teenage interactions as you're coming into adulthood, but kind of doing it with a much more modern sensibility than like Joss Whedon did, and hopefully without all of the horrific sexual harassment in the background.
Yeah, that would be good.
That would be nice. That would be nice. But I really love the show. Though I have one complaint about it, and it's probably not going to be a popular take. But Catherine Zeta-Jones is the absolute worst Morticia Addams that has ever walked this earth. She is terrible in this role. Every time she's on screen, she looks either disgusted or bored.
Okay.
And it's painful because like Luis Guzman does an amazing job as Gomez. God, I'm blanking on her last name. It's Jenna.
Jenna Ortega.
Thank you, Ortega. Jenna Ortega does an absolutely fantastic job, like iconic level job as Wednesday. And what's even better is that they gave Christina Ricci a role in the show.
That was cool. That was cool.
Yeah, and honestly, I didn't even realize it was her until probably like the third episode she was in. The first two, I kept looking at her going, she looks so familiar. Who is that actress? And finally, I IMDb'd it and was like, oh, yeah, I'm an idiot. I should have seen that.
Also, they have Brianna.
I loved it.
They have Brianna Tarth from Game of Thrones in it, which makes me very happy.
Oh yeah. They have her too.
And what's interesting is she was a model before she became an actress, and she said this is the only role that made her feel beautiful.
Wow,
that's kind of fascinating. So Gwendolyn Christie is her name. She's just 6 foot tall blonde woman who's just gorgeous.
Stunning.
She's like,
it's probably stunning, right?
Yeah, she is.
Right.
And here's a funny thing. So I didn't watch Wednesday. My wife did, and she made the same comment about Catherine Zeta-Jones. But I heard a lot of people bitching about Luis Guzman as Gomez, and I'm like, yeah, but the people who play Gomez are fucking Raul Julia. How the fuck do you top him? He's like the perfect Gomez.
Well, actually, that's where the problem comes in. If you go back to the original source material, the Addams Family was a drawn comic that was in a newspaper, and in the original comics, Gomez was a short, fat guy, and Morticia was this tall, like rail thin.
Yeah.
No, not necessarily stunning. Like
Stunning,
she was literally like a twig with a dress.
Yeah.
You know, but he was always this like short, frumpy guy. Like Raul Julia was the first time that they made, like, as far as I know, that they made Gomez into like a sex symbol. Because even in the old black and white show, he was just kind of goofy.
So, Matt likes and recommends Wednesday for y'all who didn't see it. Matt also has one more that he wants to talk about, and it's this one.
I don't know. Nothing's coming up.
You don't see it, Matt? You know what you told me, though.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
cool.
yeah, I do.
Okay,
I
cool.
mentioned 2 of them that were on Amazon. I didn't know which one you were going with.
Yeah, there we go.
I'm a fan of the other one you mentioned on Amazon, but go ahead.
So there's a lot of infighting over this one. You know, I don't hide the fact that I am an uber nerd. I mean, I grew up playing Dungeons and Dragons. If there's a movie that is out there that has a sword or a dragon or a wizard, I promise you I've probably seen it at least once, probably way more than I should have.
Yeah, you're like
even
Doug.
the bad, like even the bad ones I've watched. I really enjoyed this show, but I think part of the reason that I enjoyed this show is that while yes, I read The Lord of the Rings, I never went like deep. Like I never like started reading like the backstories and the unfinished tales and like the books and like encyclopedias that his children that his son wrote that continued the story and got into all this little minutia, because apparently when Amazon bought the rights, they didn't get the rights to several of the books, like the Silmarillion and the Unfinished Tales.
Mhm.
So there's a lot of the diehard Lord of the Rings fans who just think that this thing is an abomination. They hate watched the whole thing. I literally had someone say that they would not be satisfied until not only was it canceled, but that it had been properly ridiculed for years after being canceled. And to me, the 12-year-old me who was like blown away by the Beastmaster. You remember the movie The Beastmaster?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, like I remember like thinking that was the end all be all. To see a show that was done in that genre, willing to put that kind of money into it. I know that they took liberties with it, but I guess that's the difference. I didn't go into it expecting a canonical Lord of the Rings tale. I went into it fully expecting that somebody looked up and went, "Hey, we have the rights to make a show about the Lord of the Rings universe. Let's just go." I enjoyed it. I didn't think it was deep or meaningful or anything, but I am looking forward to a season 2. I enjoyed the action. I enjoyed the effects. I thought the acting was good. I mean, as good as so many other shows out there. There was, is it going to win any Emmys? No, but I thought it was very enjoyable, and I know that there are people who absolutely hated it, but honestly, for the folks who didn't hate it, then don't watch it. The production was really well done. I mean, it's kind of like Disney has started doing a series based on Willow, which takes place like 20 years after Willow. And I'm sure that there's going to be a whole bunch of people that get really upset about that one. And we're going to watch it in my family, and we're going to love it because it has like swords and magic and little dwarf people. And, it's going to be awesome. I'm just happy to see people spend money on sci-fi and fantasy. Finally,
there you go. And good
instead
money,
of it just instead of it just being like the bottom of the barrel, like
on shows. Yeah, like they usually pump money into like big movies and 3-hour movies and stuff, but to see them pump money on like shows that we can binge and stuff, I'm with you, man.
Yeah,
I'm with you. And I think I don't know. Maybe y'all could say I'm wrong, and maybe I'm out of date. But I'm pretty sure Game of Thrones helped this, like the success of Game of Thrones. Like people seeing like, oh man, if we put on big production, spend a whole lot of money, people are going to watch and love that shit. Yeah,
House of the Dragon has continued that.
Right, the Game of Thrones was the first one, and that goes back.
All their money they're throwing into House of the Dragon. The House of the Dragon, the first season of that was better than the first season of Game of Thrones.
Right, but Game of Thrones is almost like now, 10, 15 years old now. So it's kind of.
I'll beg to differ with you on that one, Doug. I thought the first few episodes were good. When they got rid of the original young actresses that were going and they switched over to the older ones, it was rough. It was rough because the original little girl that they had playing that role was so fantastic.
Yeah,
and
but-
when they aged her up and brought in the new actress, she was just not even in the same league.
Okay, but you understand that, like, the show initially, when they started, those ones that were in the second realm were actually the original actresses, and they just decided they wanted to go younger and start earlier. And the two that were young were fucking amazing. They just knocked that shit right out of the park. I agree with you. I'm just saying that, like, they had to do a lot of time jumps to kind of, because
no, I get it. I know why they did it.
The book they're doing is like 300 years of history. It's
I have
massive.
it.
Yeah,
I have it.
saying that's so they had to do time jumps.
I understand why they did it. I guess the problem I'm having with it is that, having watched the whole first season of House of Dragon, I have yet to find a single character in that entire show that I could care whether they live or die. I mean, thus far, like, everyone, it's like, show me a dragon, make some fights, but
I couldn't disagree more, because the idea of Matt Smith's character Damon is like one of those characters that you hate and you can empathize with at the same time. There's a morally gray area with that guy and that character that I just. It's what George R.R. Martin does. He writes characters that are morally ambiguous. That's what he does. And he likes playing with that thing. So yeah.
I get what he was aiming for. I'm just not getting a powerful enough performance from Matt Smith to make me have that kind of a visceral reaction to the character yet. Maybe it'll grow in the next season, because I'm sure there will be one, and I'll watch it. It has dragons.
Now they're going to be. They're not going to do a lot of time jumping, so I think you'll find second season better. But whatever.
And you like it? Why do you have to silence yourself? I don't understand.
Oh, because he brought up Wheel of Time.
Yeah, he did. I have yet to see that, but supposedly that's excellent, and I just haven't had a chance to watch it yet. But
I thought it was good. I mean, honestly, I thought that, the Wheel of Time series was great for the first 4 books. And then, honestly, I think that Robert Jordan just lost control of his story and had no idea what to do with it. And it got way too big and he got way too big and convoluted. And then he died before he could finish it. The best thing that happened with the Robert Jordan Wheel of Time series is that it got fame for Brandon Sanderson, who's like my favorite author in the world now, that I discovered because he finished Robert Jordan's series better than Robert Jordan ever could have.
Okay. Doug, do you have something watching, or do you want to move on to that next thing?
No. So what I have to watch, I actually shared over to you. This is a little.
Okay, here we go.
I'm wondering if Matt has seen this. It's the Iron Chef new derivative, which is basically called Iron Legend. So basically, the premise is this. You have these people that challenge a particular Iron Chef, which you have Marcus Samuelsson. I cannot remember the second lady's name. Marcus Stone. I can't remember the second lady's name, and that's my fault. And then Ming Tsai. These are all seasoned Iron Chef level competition things. And basically, they compete against one of them, and then whoever is the best out of all of them, whoever scores the best out of all of them, has to compete against all 5 of them at once. So this chef has to make 5 dishes, and each of the Iron Chefs each has to make 1 in the final. So it's fucked up, because you're like, and this person has their own sous chefs and all this stuff. So they have 2 people that are working with them to make 5 dishes, where each of those Iron Chefs have nobody, and they're only making 1 dish, but they're all incredibly seasoned, well represented, they've had a lot of time in the kitchen. So I'm watching this show. I just find it fascinating, because the idea of making stuff and cooking food. So I was not a person who cooked a lot of food. And then after my heart attack, I had to learn how to cook food, because I needed to cook shit that was good for me. So finding people who could, like, I always watch the Iron Chef because Mark, the guy that's holding the golden knife there, I can't remember his last name. He was in a John Wick movie, by the way.
Okay.
And he was great in John Wick.
I'm sure he was.
Yeah. So, but
I mean,
I don't know. I just find it interesting that like they make this impossible task to beat 5 Iron Chefs. I don't know.
I was going to say
it was good TV.
I loved the original Iron Chef. The production that was being done in Japan.
Thank you. And Dominic Crenn,
there you go.
By the way, Dominic Crenn, I'm going to tell you, she makes the weirdest things and they all work. I don't know how the fuck she makes stuff. And it's just like, she made this thing with like a fish foam with this other thing. And I'm like, what the fuck is this? And they're like, this is delicious. Like, and the thing is that the last episode is like, it's like this one lady who's been on regular Iron Chef a million times. And then they have Mark Zimmerman, who's the guy from like, eats a lot of shit that nobody wants to eat in these weird countries.
Yeah, really don't like him.
Yeah. And then the last person is Morimoto, who is like the best sushi chef.
Oh yeah,
maybe ever. So it's fascinating to just watch, like to watch how people craft dishes and do that stuff. Oh shit! He was in Only the Strong. God damn it! Now I have to watch that because all right. Here's a fun fact. When I used to dance, which was a million years ago, and I can't do that shit anymore because I'm old. Capoeira was kind of my style of dance, and I was not good at it, but I liked it. So I'm going to have to watch that. Oh, really? I didn't know she got cancer.
I have not watched Iron Chef in a number of years. I got away from watching a lot of the food competition shows. They just don't do a lot for me these days. Mostly just because I'm not in the kitchen anymore at a restaurant. When I was in the restaurant kitchen, I would watch a lot of these shows because, you know, it would give me ideas. It would push me in different directions. And it's just not happening these days. Also, I'm on number 3.
What do you grab?
This is called Dave's American Dark. Ooh. It is athletics take on a classic American porter.
Ooh. Look at the head. Look at the head on that. That's nice.
Yeah. Again, that's my physic.
All right. So how is it?
Oh, it's delicious. They did this one last year for the first time and brought it back this year. Last year they called it Dave's American Dark Malt. This year they dropped the malt and just call it Dave's American Dark. But it's a really nice malty porter, not super bitter, but relatively balanced, not sweet either. Daniel had that one 2 nights ago. Also mad tasty. Oh, but yeah. So other than Iron Chef, what else are you watching, Doug?
Yeah, that's the Iron Chef. You mentioned earlier The Peripheral, which I'm an episode behind. That show is fucking great.
I have seen all of it except the last episode.
Yeah, so you and I are at the same spot. And the sci-fi element of that show and the time travel bits, superbly done. There's only one show that I think I've seen that does time travel better, and it's Dark, which is a German show that they made into Netflix where you can watch the subtitles. Dark is the best time travel show I've ever seen. But
I agree with you 100% about Dark.
The Peripheral is just fucking great. And Daniel, I know you were talking about maybe doing that for your Watch OK Please podcast. Please fucking do that.
And Chloe, what is it? Chloe Moretz.
Chloe Grace Moretz. She's
Chloe Grace Moretz. Not only is she fantastic in this role, but like I still remember the first time I ever saw her on screen was when she was playing Hit Girl in the first Kick-Ass movie. And she couldn't have been more than like 8 or 9 years old.
Mm-hmm. And she was
and she was awesome in that. And I remember looking at Angela and being like, watch her. She's going to go places. And this made me feel really good because the last thing that I saw her in before this was really bad.
Yeah.
It was the one where she was, it was the World War II one where she was on the plane and the gremlin demon things were trying to kill her and steal her baby. Yeah, it was bad.
There's an actor in this show. She's her name is in the show. It's Inspector Ainsley Goodbeer. Like that's her name in the show. And her name in real life is Alexandra Billings. And she is so fucking good in just this little tiny bit that you just go, whatever she's in, I need to go find whatever the fuck she's watching because holy shit, that was awesome. Like that's just one of the actors, actresses, whatever it doesn't matter. They're just superb. So yeah, it's a really good, it's a well acted show. It's a great premise. It's based on a book by William Gibson. Yeah,
it's the father of cyberpunk.
Yep. So yeah, that's a great show. Sorry. Greg, what about you?
Do you watch TV, Greg?
Nothing.
Not the World Cup. Does that count?
Yeah, that counts. Why not?
Well, I just said it. The World Cup.
Well, the World Cup's fucking happening, dude.
Also, fuck the Netherlands, and I was happy to see them go down. Fuck them. It wasn't that they just beat the United States. It was that I felt a little arrogance after they beat the United States. I'm not this big rah United States person. In fact, I've become less and less as I've grown on in my life because it's kind of hard to root for a racist country. So, even if it's my racist country, just saying. So I'm not really that. If we succeed, I'm happy, but I'm not going to lose my mind if we lose, and I'm not going to lose sleep if we lose. But if you're going to be an arrogant prick after you beat us, then I'm going to be a little bit annoyed. And I think that Netherlands, to me, I got the vibe that they're being arrogant. So I was rooting against them today, and they lost. And I was petty in our soccer thread, and I think it's fucking hilarious. And bye, y'all. Like NSYNC says. Bye. So anyway, that's all I got. But Doug,
one recommendation for you from my 8-year-old daughter, because she knows that you are my friend who is all about space and science.
Yes, sir.
Do you have Amazon Prime?
Yes, sir.
Go watch Goodnight Oppie.
Goodnight Oppie. I've seen that.
Yep.
I haven't watched it.
It is an entire documentary that is about the entire 15-year mission of the Mars rover Opportunity.
Oh,
they have all the people who actually worked on it.
That is all the great shit right there.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like I watched it with my daughter, and she literally came home the next day. She's like, "Can I watch that again?" I'm like, "Yes, you can." But it's actually really well done. They bring in like kids who were in high school and got to watch the launch, and some of these same kids ended up working on the mission after they graduated college. And I mean, it's just really, really well done. I mean, totally in your wheelhouse, Greg.
You already know what I think about all that. You already know.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So let's do this. This time I'll let Doug go first, but I know Matt has something too.
Yeah, this is something that I wanted to talk about because this is an author that I've been wanting to read a while and I never got around to, and I'm very glad I did. This is a book called Parable of the Sower by Octavia Butler, which is one of the most preeminent Black sci-fi authors, and was taken well before her time, unfortunately. There's a show coming out in Hulu called Kindred, which is based on one of her books. So I am super stoked. That's coming out December 13th. I cannot wait to watch this. This is the first of a 2-book series called the Earthseed series. So basically, this girl makes her own religion in the middle of a apocalypse. And it's a Black girl growing up in the middle of an apocalypse making her religion. I don't read as much as I would like, but I read a lot. And it is one of these things where I read it, and the first 30 fucking pages, I'm stopping. Holy shit. That was a great line. Like I am just like, I'm having to stop like every few pages just being like, what the fuck was that? Like, that is phenomenal writing. And I'm so mad that I didn't do this sooner, because it's like, sci-fi is stuff I love to read. Although sci-fi, I love to read horror, but sci-fi is kind of like the shit I read a lot. And I was like, I should read more of her stuff. And then Joel and I were in Toronto, and I bought 2 of her books at a bookstore in Toronto. This is how I was like, okay, great. I'm going to buy 2 of these. And I just, superb. I cannot express how good this writing is. So, yeah.
Damn.
Oh yeah, no, I read that for a book club that I was in. Recommended that we read that book, and oddly enough, the book club never actually met after reading the book. Like, the book club kind of fell apart. But I absolutely loved the book. It was absolutely fantastic. Floored me. Such a good book.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Damn. Okay, Matt. What are you reading, Matt?
Well, what I'm supposed to. The question is, what am I reading versus what I'm supposed to be reading? I'm supposed to be reading Nothing Lasts Forever by Roderick Thorpe, which is the book that Die Hard is actually based on.
Oh, like the Bruce Willis movie.
So there's a stay-at-home dad.
One of my favorite movies.
There's a stay-at-home dad book. Right. So there's a stay-at-home dad book club now. That got founded by Kyle Denny, and we've been doing a huge variety of books. Everything from like self-help books to books about cryptocurrency to Jurassic Park. And being Christmas, we decided that we should do a Christmas book, and that we would do, Nothing Lasts Forever, because it's Die Hard just as a book. And I'm supposed to be reading it, but I'm having great difficulty because there is no audiobook version of it. And at this point in my life, I very, very seldom, if ever, like, have the time to sit down and open a book and read an actual physical book. Almost all of the books that I do now, I do via audiobook, because I can throw a headphone in, and while I'm cooking or doing dishes or doing laundry or running or driving or riding my pretty much anything but swimming, I can be listening to a book. I don't have waterproof earbuds. That's all. So, that's what keeps me from doing that. That and my phone would also like explode. So I do a lot of audiobooks, and but my favorite author right now is Brandon Sanderson, who is a fantasy author. And he is most known for doing these massively involved world building type things. And he's doing something with a fantasy series that no one has ever done before. He wrote this series of books called the Mistborn Saga. And then he wrote a sequel to it, but the sequel takes place 300 years later. And he actually advanced society and technology by 300 years. So in the first book, everybody is, like wizards and swords and that type of thing. And, they have a system of magic that's all based on metals. But then in the second series, like, they still have all the same magic, but now they also have like guns and cars and, or think like early 1900s technology, right? And the last book in that series just got released, and I started listening to it and realized that I had completely forgotten the two or three prior to it. So I went back and I'm re-listening to those so that I can do the fourth one. But apparently after this one, the next part that he's writing in the saga is he's going to fast forward again, and it's going to be in like a 1980s type era as far as like technology and the rest of it, but still in the same world with the same magic and the same mythology.
Okay.
Yeah, it's absolutely fascinating. I'm really enjoying it. The series that I'm on right now is the Wax and Wayne books. The first series is the Mistborn saga. Then you have Wax and Wayne. Wax is a nobleman who's kind of a bounty hunter, like, you know, cop kind of guy. And then the Wayne is his rather crude sidekick, so to speak. But
Gotcha.
yeah, it's a brilliant series. If you enjoy fantasy, it's a fascinating read and really, really enjoyable. And he's very, very good at doing character development. All of his books also have like really strong female characters that are not just there as like consorts or, you know, the object of desire. Like they're there as a part of the story in their own right, which is always nice. Because
Yes, it is.
early, you know, classic fantasy gets a little misogynistic. Do yourself a favor, don't go back and read like the original Conan books. They're really, really bad. They're really racist and really misogynistic.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll take that warning.
Yeah.
One last thing I want to talk to before we let you go, Matt.
All right.
Talk about. Sorry. Is this actually? So, so it's funny because we have to give you all a little insight ball. We have a messenger thread that we started after that too, that we just basically talk about dumb shit, and it's either dumb politicians or dumb things like what are you eating or why Doug hates Top Sheets. We still haven't figured that out. We're never going to.
Yeah,
but like I'm resolved with that. But one of the dumb not dumb things, but one of the things that I've become fascinated with is really this, and it's because it's nothing new, and people have been foraging for mushrooms for, I guess, you know, at this point, probably centuries. But it's still fascinating to me, even though people have I know JHG's one of them, and I think Doug laughed at me too. People have this, people can't make this connection, meaning I fucking hate eating mushrooms, but I'd love hearing about mushrooms. That I don't know why that can't make sense to y'all, but for some reason
Makes sense to me.
For some reason y'all have okay, Matt. But for those people, some have a problem with this. I know JHG does because we specifically talked about it. He's like, how can you talk about it if you don't like it? Well, you know, I don't have to like it to talk about it. I don't have to like it to be fascinated by it. There are many things that I'm fascinated by. I'm kind of fascinated how, real quick, how y'all could be QAnon people, but I don't like y'all QAnon people. I don't talk to y'all QAnon people, but I'm fascinated. Same with the cult bar. I am, as y'all know, I'm a producer of it. So I help Renee and Doug produce the stream. So I give them tips. I pretty much do the behind the scenes shit for them, what they can't do or what they don't know about StreamYard because they're not familiar with the platform. Okay. But the whole cult thing, it's just for me personally, it's really a complete turnoff. But I'm fascinated by it. I'm fascinated how people can think this way. I'm fascinated how Doug and Renee can love it so much. I'm fascinated by all of it, really, but I don't like it. I keep my arm's length. I probably will maybe never see any of the shows that they talk about, but I can support my friends. I can support a good project that I love. I was the one who helped push them to do the damn thing. So there's a weird way of me where I can be fascinated with something and I can still not like it. Mushrooms is it. I just don't like them. I've tried, Matt. I've tried over the years. It's just a texture thing. I can't do it. But Matt shows in this one thread that we have about how he goes foraging, and I don't even think Matt spends that much time foraging. I will let Matt talk about all this in a second. I'm just setting them up here, but like he comes back with these big, like that. This ain't nothing compared to what Matt harvests and what he brings back home. He brings back these big things, and I'm like, what the fuck is that? He's like, it's mushrooms. You cut them up, and he puts them in all kinds of things, and his family loves them. And it's great. And I actually think that it's great that Matt loves the mushrooms, and I don't. I don't have to hate the mushrooms or hate Matt because he likes mushrooms. Like, I think it's great that Matt likes mushrooms because more for Matt and less for me. Cool. But Matt, this shit is fascinating. I think it's fucking cool as hell. How to don't project. Shut up, JHG. You and I have specifically had this conversation about, you said something like, oh, why are you talking about mushrooms if you don't like them? Shut up, JHG. I'm telling you right now. Anyway, and JHG, you are welcome to respond. You want to know how? Go into the thread that I talk about, click on the studio, and if you show up in the box here, I will push you up here, and then you can tell me I'm wrong, or we could argue about it. But with that being said, look, you have the full power of JHG. I'm giving it to you. Show up, and we can argue. If not, that's cool. But that aside, Matt, that's a wonderful setup for you to talk about, or I think this is wonderful. Mushrooms. Doug is looking forward to it because Doug likes it, actually. I love mushrooms. And I fucking hate them. But Matt, please talk about your love of mushrooms. How do you forage for them and all that?
So honestly, this all started when the lockdown hit. When the lockdown hit, and all of us were locked inside our houses, and I'm a stay-at-home dad. I was doing virtual kindergarten, followed by an entire year of virtual first grade with my daughter. Then I had a son who was supposed to be in preschool, but we're not going to send him. But nobody's doing virtual preschool. So I was going crazy being locked in the house. So as a family, we just started going on walks. Like, it was all about I just have to get out of the damned house. So we go on a walk around the whole neighborhood. And one day, as we're walking down the street, I have several friends, because I was part of the chef community. I knew people who foraged for mushrooms and sold them to restaurants. I have friends who forage and that type of thing. And we're walking down literally one of the main streets in our neighborhood. And I look down at the base of a tree and I see this mushroom, and I'm like 95% positive that I know what it is. And I'm 95% sure that it's a chicken of the woods mushroom. And I tell my wife this, and she's like, well, what about the other 5? And I'm like, trust me on this one. I have a plan. So I pick it and we bring it home, and I take like 9 or 10 pictures from every angle, and I send them out to a couple of my friends who are literally like schooled and certified. Like, not only can they forage, they can teach foraging. And said, hey, this is what I think this is. Am I right? And both of them were like, absolutely, man, enjoy. And we ate that night, and it just took off. Later that season, I started finding a whole bunch of maitake mushrooms. And again, this was all literally in my neighborhood. I live less than a mile from downtown Durham. A lot of the mushrooms that I pick are on that great little strip of land that's between the sidewalk and the street, which is public land. And it doesn't belong to anybody, so I can grab whatever I want off of there. And it just became a thing. And very seldom do I go out purposefully with the idea of I'm going out foraging. The picture that you saw of those oyster mushrooms was last Sunday. I needed a little time to myself, so I threw a backpack on and put an ice block in it, and threw 4 or 5 beer, non-alcoholic beers in there, and hit the Mountains to Sea Trail and hiked for 10 miles through the woods. And as I was hiking, I kept having to drink more and more beer to make room for mushrooms. I found somewhere around 8 pounds of oyster mushrooms.
Wow.
About a pound of wood ear mushrooms. And then I did find one lion's mane mushroom that was well past its prime, that I trimmed all the brown part off. I'll slice it, smoke it, and then dehydrate it and make smoked mushroom powder out of it, which is delicious when you're cooking. But it's just become a thing. And Greg was just talking about how my whole family enjoys this. I'd like to point out, no, my whole family does not. My wife and I enjoy these mushrooms.
Okay.
My children will not touch these things if I paid them. My daughter will try them, but thus far, everyone she tries, she's like, nope. But on the flip
She's gonna
side,
eventually get that. She's eventually gonna like it. I'm thinking, but go on.
But the best
She's
part
willing to
about
try it. That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah, she's willing to try them. But the thing that's the really most impressive to me is that she absolutely loves finding them.
Yeah.
Now we're at a point where anytime we go out on a walk, like anytime she sees a mushroom, she's like, Daddy, and she'll point to it and be like, if she knows what it is, she'll call it out by name. If she doesn't, she's like, Daddy, do you know what that is? And I'm like, no. And she's like, well, take a picture. Let's find out. And we'll do research. I did a triathlon back in August in Lake Logan, which is out in the mountains in Western North Carolina, because I decided that I'm a glutton for punishment and said I want to ride my bike on real hills. It was not as much fun as I thought, which is why I signed up to do the Olympic distance there next year. But what we made a vacation out of it. So we took a week off, and the race was on Sunday. We got there on like Thursday, and we left to come home on Wednesday. So after the race was done on like Monday or Tuesday, we were out hiking, and the kids and we, as a family, we have this thing for waterfalls. So like the kids will hike any distance if there's a waterfall at the end of the hike, especially if they can swim in it.
Oh, really cool. Yep.
Really cool. So we were out
really
hiking in Pisgah National Forest, and I had stopped to take a picture of this little bitty, the common name, I want to say it's a unicorn parasol. It's this little bitty yellow mushroom. It's horrifically toxic. I mean, like spew from both ends for like a good 36 hours if you eat it, but it's pretty. So I stopped to take a picture of it, right? Because it's a pretty little mushroom. And as I'm taking a picture of it, Lily, who's about 6 feet to my right, standing right in front of the place that I was just looking, calls out to me and goes, "Hey, Dad, what are these black mushrooms?"
Chaga.
And I go,
are they chaga?
No, better. I go, wait, what? I walk over. The girl's standing there staring at what I walked right past. In the next 12 minutes, as a family, we picked close to 5 pounds of fresh black trumpet mushrooms off the side of a hill.
Wow. Those are not cheap.
Yeah.
Those are very expensive prices.
You're looking around $30 to $35 a pound retail.
Yep.
If I brought them to a restaurant, I'd have no trouble. Well, first of all, I couldn't because I'm not legally certified. But if I was and I brought them to a restaurant, no one would bat an eye if I asked for $20 a pound for them. We found all of these mushrooms. Like we brought them back to the Airbnb. My daughter, we laid them all out on the table in front of my daughter and took pictures of her just smiling in front of them. Because she said, once I told her what they were, she's like, you have to let all your mushroom friends know I found these, not you. And I'm like, absolutely. Absolutely. She gets 100% credit for the find. But it's literally at the point now where every time we go out hiking or we go out for a walk, I walk my daughter back and forth to school every day. On the way home, on the way to school this morning, she stopped to point out 3 different mushrooms to me. Now granted, none of them were anything that were edible. Well, I mean, everything's edible once, but nothing was anything that you want. nothing that you want to eat. But it's still just amazing that she's this fascinated by it because, tastes change. I mean, when I was a kid, there were a lot of things I didn't like to eat that I like to eat now. Absolutely. And the best part about, the best part about foraging for me is that I can go out for a walk in the woods, and worst case scenario, I went on a nice walk in the woods. Best case scenario, I went on a walk in the woods and I come home with free groceries. And free groceries are free groceries, man. I mean, right now I still have, if y'all hold on a second, give me 1 sec. I'll be right back. Oh, ow, I'm old.
Oh, that's what, just what I want to see was Matt's ass. That was,
it was one of the first asses we've seen on the street.
yes. Well, not really. He just hit it in the pool. But yeah.
Well, who's the other ass we saw on the street?
Me?
You saw your ass on the street?
No, I'm an ass. That's the point.
Oh. Well, everybody knows that shit. What the hell's going on?
These are the oyster mushrooms that you saw in that picture that I picked Sunday.
They're big.
This is what we have left.
Yeah. So can I talk a bit about how we grew oysters, mushrooms?
Oh yeah. Are you I tried to grow, man. I couldn't do it.
It's super easy, and here's what you do. You take a bunch of chicken wire and you make a circular thing, however big. You soak the shit out of hay for like 3 days and just soak it in water. And then what you do is you do a layer of that. And what you do is you buy mushroom seed, which is like almost a powder. So you put a layer of wet hay. You put a light dusting of mushroom seed powder, wet hay, and you just repeat that. And you do this. We did a column that was like 4 feet high. And we got a shit ton of oyster mushrooms out of that. The only thing is you have to every other day you have to soak the hay because mushrooms need moisture. And then what you want to do is we took some burlap sacks and covered the column so that it didn't have sunlight beating on it and drying it out. Literally, you grow a fuck ton of mushrooms. If you like mushrooms, it is a super easy way to grow mushrooms. You just make a column of wet hay and you put layers of mushroom powder / seed in different layers, and you just get layers and layers of fucking mushrooms. We probably got maybe 10 pounds of mushrooms out of that.
See, I've tried twice. I had a friend of mine that bought a bunch of the log inoculation plugs. Mm-hmm. Which are like a little wooden plug, and you take like hardwood logs and you drill holes.
You drill a hole and you put it in. You make sure you soak the log before you do it so that they have all the moisture they need, right?
We tried that, and I got like one flush of like 3 oyster mushrooms and like a single shiitake mushroom, and nothing else came out of them.
No, do the thing I told you that I just talked about.
Yeah,
it's super easy. Just make a column of chicken wire that's like this round.
Mm-hmm.
Soak the shit out of some hay. Just buy a bale of hay. Bale of hay is cheap. And just soak the shit out of it.
We do straw all the time for the straw bale gardening.
Yeah,
like we use that for gardening.
Mm-hmm. But just take it and soak it for like 3 days so it's completely soaked. Put a layer.
Ew, you can, JHG.
Yeah, but like
you're going to timeout.
So you just go online and you can find this. It's a mushroom powder. It's seeds, but they're powder.
Well, I mean, I've seen the spore inoculations and like they do syringe inoculations and everything.
But it's not even that. You just do the whole thing with just here's wet hay, put a layer of seed, wet hay, layer of seed, and just do that for like you can get chicken wire for next to nothing. You can get chicken wire for $20.
Do me a favor.
It's 50 feet. So yeah.
Do me a favor. Shoot the link for where you got the spore powder.
I'll talk to my wife tomorrow and ask her, and I'll send that over to you because I think
in the great debates.
Yeah, I think the spore powder was not terribly expensive, but this is the thing is you get we got mushrooms late into September. Like we were getting them late. And I'm in upstate New York, so you're down farther south, so it might not be the same. But you probably get more because you have more moisture in the air down there than we do up here. We're a little drier up here. So
Well, and,
But
and
it-
oyster mushrooms will flush throughout the winter. The only thing that will slow them down if the temperature drops below freezing,
Yeah, we
they
get that all
won't
the
flush.
time.
But the minute it goes above freezing, like literally, we were below freezing last week, and then it warmed up suddenly. And like, if you go out, like I'm in several foraging groups on Facebook, and like everybody's posting pictures, and everybody's coming home right now with lion's mane and winter oysters, because that's all that's growing in this cold.
So I want to ask you a very quick question because we're like going on 3 hours here. But
Oh, good Lord. Okay.
yeah. So it doesn't feel like it, but I'm just saying. So can you talk a bit about like lion's mane and like so there's mushrooms that taste like chicken, which is like where you have
The chicken of the woods.
chicken of the woods, and then you have ones that take us a little bit more like seafood. Like there's different ones depending on what you get.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk a bit about that because that's
So-
actually something where you can get different flavor profiles. People just think mushrooms and it tastes earthy, and that's not how it is. Certain mushrooms are very earthy. Certain mushrooms are very like they taste like chicken, and other ones taste like seafood. Please explain that.
Lion's mane is a prime example, and I don't know anything about the chemistry or the
neither.
reason that it tastes that way. But lion's mane is a relatively easy one to identify. It's a big white fuzzy ball,
Mhm.
and it's got little hairs on it. It's the Herculeum genus, and then there's several species underneath it. But you can buy lion's mane at Whole Foods these days. I know our local Wegmans generally has it. Occasionally,
You have
the
a
Asian grocery.
wait. You have a Wegmans that far down south?
Oh yeah, we have 3 of them now.
Holy shit! Now listen,
Well, you gotta
Wegmans is my favorite grocery store by a mile.
Well, you got to remember, like if you go to Cary, which is like one city over from us, like down south, the locals refer to Cary as the containment area for relocated Yankees. Like all of the license plates are New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
So they demanded a Wegmans, so they brought Wegmans down here.
Wegmans
But
is great.
you
though.
can,
Wegmans is fucking
yeah,
great.
you can buy lion's mane. It's cultivated all around, and it's a mushroom that literally tastes like crab meat.
Yep.
And
delicious.
it's the consistency of crab meat.
Yep.
One of the things that like when you start foraging, like there's this amazing moment where you find your first mushroom, like you find your first lion's mane. You're like, oh my God, I found a lion's mane. And then you reach out in the community and you're like, okay, how do I cook this? I've never worked, and the most common thing that everybody recommends is that you make crab cakes out of it. And basically you can take a lion's mane mushroom and just peel it. And it comes out in long strings like crab meat.
Yep.
And you saute it a little bit, and then you form it into a crab cake just using the mushroom instead of crab meat. Take any crab cake recipe that you have that you like, and then you cook it like a crab cake, and it's absolutely fantastic.
It's like king oyster mushrooms can taste a lot like chicken. Like
king oyster
really
mushrooms can taste a lot like chicken. Chicken of the woods, literally, I promise you, the first one I found, I asked everybody, how should I cook this? And they said, okay, you're gonna laugh at us when we tell you this, but make fried chicken. And I'm like, what? And they're like, you know how you do like chicken fried steak, or you take like you do chicken fried chicken? I'm like, yeah. They're like, do that with a whole lobe of the mushroom. And I'm like, you're kidding, right? And they're like, no. And I'm not joking. It literally tasted like chicken. It has a meaty texture like chicken.
Yep. There's a vegan restaurant that does that as a chicken sandwich, and they use chicken.
Mm-hmm. I could totally see that working.
A fucking chicken sandwich, and it's fucking
great. I mean, it's amazing. With the oyster mushrooms, I mean, those are a little bit more your earthy mushroom flavor.
Yep.
We find a bunch of maitake around here. I do a lot of different things with the maitake because they've got that big, dense, solid center, which really isn't very tasty in and of itself. but like I'll cut off all the little lobes on the outside, and we'll use those to saute or do dishes with. And then I'll take the centerpieces and either make mushroom stock out of it, or honestly, I bought this food dehydrator, and my new favorite thing to do in the world is when I have more mushrooms than I know what to do with, I smoke them, because mushrooms will take smoke like smoked meat takes smoke. But I'll smoke them, and then after they cool off, I'll put them in my food dehydrator, dry them for 36 hours, and then throw them in a coffee grinder, one of the little handheld ones, and powder them. And I've got like multiple different flavors of smoked mushroom powder in my kitchen now, different woods, different kinds of mushrooms that are just literally like having a little shaker of umami when you're cooking. It's fantastic. I actually brought, for those who have been at Home DadCon, they know one of the things that I'm known for is showing up with cured meats. I tend to travel with salamis and hams and, bacon and pastrami.
All the shit that will kill me. So thank you for that.
Well, hey, everybody has to do their part.
That's true.
But I always bring this. And when I went to Phoenix this past year, I realized that there's a couple of the guys that are involved in the organization who come every year that are like, one of them is a vegetarian, Quetzal, and the other one's a vegan, Kyle Denny. And I'm pretty close with both of them. So this year I actually brought both of them a little shaker of smoked mushroom powder, because I do all of the smoked mushrooms with a stovetop smoker set up. That way they're not going into my smoker that is covered in meat juice, because it's not really vegetarian. Yeah, I mean, if I shove it on top of the smoker that I do my brisket on, that's not vegetarian anymore.
It's almost like the idea of trying to do stuff that's kosher. You have to kind of have it separate, right?
Right. Well, I mean, to this day, I have a vegan knife in my house. I have a knife that since the day I bought it, it has never touched meat. It has never touched dairy. It has never touched an animal product. Because, and again, this was when I was younger and a little bit more of a dick. My mentality was, if someone is willing to give up everything in the world that tastes good, the least I can do is buy them a knife. It was a little bit judgy at the time, but but doing the drying of the mushrooms, I can honestly say anybody who starts foraging mushrooms, it is totally worth it to go out and invest in a good dehydrator. Because when you forage, you will figure out really quickly it's feast or famine. You will not find anything for months, and then you will find more than you could ever possibly consume. But on that note, one of these days, Greg, I'm gonna bring smoked mushroom powder to you, and see if and see what you think. Like, just sprinkling it as a seasoning over the top of a steak. There's no longer any texture; it's just all flavor.
Let's do it.
Okay.
I'll keep an open mind.
Yeah.
I've learned, beer has taught me to keep an open mind about food. Even if I say I don't like it, I'm still going to try it in different situations. And I still may not like it, but at least I'm trying. And I want to set that example for my sons too, because I Matt, you already know about this, just try it. That's it. I'm not asking you to eat the whole thing. I'm just asking you, and they don't understand the reason why, but the reason why is because I know the more stuff you try, the more your palate opens. And you may not necessarily like mushrooms, but it may open your palate up to something different. And that's what I'm at with olives too, Doug. I can't stand fucking olives. But given a situation where I could try them, and I feel comfortable doing it, I will. And again, I still don't like them, but I'm at least opening myself up to, that whole angle, Matt. And again, one thing I do, I don't think people understand this about me, is that like I understand I'm me. I'm not really that special, with all due respect. So with that being said, I can get a lot of shit wrong, and I can have perceptions about wrong with it. What did JHG say here? What's that phrase? Oh yeah, you're entitled to your perception, and my perception could be wrong about things. It could be wrong about things all day long, and I'm fine with that, Matt. I don't feel that I have this big ego that like I know everything or my perceptions are always right, because they're not. Facts.
Oh no.
At the same
I'm
time,
wrong all the time.
but at the same time, I'm willing to have, the science part of me is willing to entertain different ideas. Now, I may never change my mind on anything, but I'm entertained by those different ideas. So that's kind of how I am with food. And I've learned, beer has taught me, because I did not start liking, when I started liking beer, I didn't like all the styles. Now I actually like all the styles. Now, again, some I favor more than others, but I'll still drink a Hefeweizen and enjoy it, but it doesn't have to be my favorite style. I will still drink a light lager and enjoy that shit. So that's kind of where I'm at with mushrooms. Mushroom powder, honestly, it sounds great, because you're right. It takes out the texture part. So it takes completely out the thing that I have a problem with. So if you take that out, then there's a really good chance that maybe I'll like it. And then I'll be a mushroom powder person, but I don't like the mushrooms. It's great. I'm here. I'm down. But I do like the mushrooms. It's just the form that it's in. No, there's no problem with that. Yeah, there's no problem with that. So what there is a problem is, Doug, if we sit here all night and don't do anything else. So we're gonna have to let Matt go.
I would like to mention one thing before I go.
I'll let you mention one thing, but you see what happens when we get together. This is what happens at like that too. We're in
like all of a sudden it's fucking 2 a.m. We're like, what the fuck are we still up for?
Yeah, and then Doug's always cutting me off there too, just like he does here too. So with that being said, we would be in a hotel room till Doug says 2, it would be 4, and then we would be stumbling out of there. Matt wouldn't be stumbling because he's drinking any beers, but Doug and I would be stumbling. So Matt, you had one thing to say. You're gonna do 2 things. You have one thing you want to say, and then the second thing is you're gonna have to tell us about your beers that you had and whether you enjoyed them, and let us all know about them.
Okay.
Floor is yours, buddy.
The one thing that I wanted to mention is I am an ambassador for athletics, so I got to give my little ambassador spiel. If anybody is interested in trying athletic, please go online, place an order. At this point, inflation has been hitting everybody, so they no longer do the free shipping with 2 6-packs. You actually have to go over $50 to get free shipping now. But I want to say the flat rate shipping is like $5 or something. So I mean, it's not bad, even if you get hit with it. But if you do order it at checkout, if you enter the code MSTRAIN, so MSTRAIN, and then 20, it'll get you 20% off your first order. If you want it, give it a shot. 20% is 20%. Yeah. As far as the beers that I drank,
that's shipping. Right there.
Easily.
Right.
Easily.
That's just shipping. There you go.
So as far as the beers that I had today, the last one I had was the Dave's American Dark, which was the athletic porter that
I've heard good things about that one.
Yes. Yeah, I absolutely adore that one.
Daniel and JHG said good things about it, I'm pretty sure, earlier.
Yeah. Yep. The one I had before that was the Maple Brown Ale, which is one of my absolute favorites for this time of the year. They did a really good job of keeping it balanced.
Yeah, it sounds
and not making it overly sweet.
Yeah,
it's not
sweet.
though. It's
awesome.
Not though.
That's good work.
And then I opened up with the Round of Cheers, which is a Brut IPA. It's a great Brut IPA. It's probably the least like impressive or interesting one of them, but it's like a nice drinking beer, and I genuinely enjoyed it.
That's because Brut IPAs aren't the most great drinkable style, but that's That's why I was going like this.
No,
I don't want to say
and I'm
anything.
with you. No,
I didn't want to
I'm
say
with you
anything
on that.
rude about
No,
Brewed
no, no.
IPAs. But
Go ahead. No, hey man, everybody has their own
It's-
different taste when it comes to styles.
and that's my perception. We're back to that.
Mm-hmm.
Doug, actually, let's go out with Matt today, Doug. Doug, what is your perception about what you drank today?
All right. So, quick. This is the black IPA. This was a little bit long in the tooth. It was good. The roastiness, and it had coffee in it. The coffee really masked a lot of the long in the toothness.
And you're a coffee beer lover, though, right?
I am. I love that stuff. Second was the North Water Kinkios. This was a Lithuanian Imperial Christmas Stout. This was good. Pretty good.
You're all exotic and foreign tonight.
Yeah. So, and my winner was the Thin Mint Frap from Weathered Souls, but that's kind of my jam. Was Thin
That's
Mint
kind of exotic,
Heavy
though.
Stout. Yeah, it was. But yeah, this was very good. I have one, Greg. I'm going to save it for when you.
Was it overly thin mini?
No.
Okay.
I think it was super well balanced. Like I said, it's very minty, but it's a minty stout.
Okay.
Like I said, to me, here's the grand poobah of dessert stouts is the creme brulee, and then there's
You just said poobah.
yeah. So
He
this
did.
is like a little bit lower than that. It's really good.
Doug, you're aging yourself by saying poobah.
Shout out to the Flintstones.
Yeah.
Right.
And happy days.
Well, we had another Happy Days Jump the Shark reference. Matt was
we
all
did.
over that earlier.
The Happy Days, we had that
Like,
too. So.
Yeah, that was great because Matt said jump the shark, and I was like, literally, because that's where it came from. It's great.
Yeah.
I had
So,
two
Greg, how
double
about you?
2 IPAs from Vintage, or I'm sorry, not Vintage, Venture Brewing, one of our favorite breweries in here. Matt, Venture Brewing is a coffee and beer house located in Greater Milwaukee.
So
and
you can
Doug
have some
says I
coffee.
have to.
Clapp.
Doug has to
Greg
say. Doug
Clapp
has to.
is our local dad who is the co-chair for the convention.
Oh,
and Greg Clapp brought up Venture Brewing in the fact that they had coffee for somebody like me who doesn't drink.
Right. And the best thing about it is you can roll up to Venture at 6 a.m. and get coffee and beer. So also you'll probably be able to get Greg knows our buddy, but you'll be able to get a tour and all that. Well, actually,
yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, these two are from Venture. It's great. But yes, Matt, it's a great spot. Greg's already been there a couple times with Milwaukee Dads. He probably told y'all that. And y'all couldn't really have a better person, from what I know, about Milwaukee beer. He'll be able to talk to you all that. And actually, Greg and I can work together, and I can send him some places. We also got the Wisconsin Beer Baron, who knows everyone.
Yep.
He knows
everyone.
Man. So if between him, me, and Clapp, y'all are going to be set up good in Milwaukee. Even if for some reason I do not show my presence, but hold on. Even if I don't show, I'm 90%. Even if I don't show, my presence will be felt. Trust me when I say that. Okay.
Do not make me rent a car and come get your ass.
No, that would be fun, actually. Right?
Yeah, well,
do not make me do this.
Here's the thing: I'm supposed to be driving from upstate New York to Wisconsin and meet him, and then drive up to Milwaukee.
There'll also be again. I'll talk to Clapp and all that, but I can also include Madison's not that far, so if people are traveling from Madison or even Milwaukee, even Minneapolis, because I know we're gonna have people from Minneapolis scoot through Madison. I got breweries in Madison. I know them all, and I know all the people there. I'm not just name dropping. It's just what I do. If I wasn't a beer person in my city and I didn't know people, then what kind of beer person would I be? So with that being right, so it's not really name dropping. It's just like part of the whole gig is doing the whole networking. But my point is that we'll be able to we'll hook that up, and I'll talk to Greg for sure. So actually. We're doing a weekend in Milwaukee early in May. So we're all going to be down there anyway. So it's just a good thing. So Matt, It was fun. Doug and I
Always.
want to thank you for coming on and imparting your wisdom about NA
Thanks for
beers.
having me.
We didn't even talk Christmas food, but it's cool. Y'all can actually, we've extensively talked about Christmas food and what Matt feels about that. In our previous stream, you go to my YouTube page, Daddy Porter, YouTube/Daddy Porter. Look up Matt Strain. I highly suggest y'all talk about it because things that we talked about previously were having sober holidays, drinking less booze on holidays if that's what you want to do. Holidays do not have to be a booze fest. They could be whatever you want. There's scales to this, y'all. So don't feel pressured by anyone to be boozing out if you don't want. Use Matt Strain's wonderful code that he gave you. Pack yourself some athletic. Bring some athletic to your Christmas events. There's nothing wrong with that. Matt knows a lot about food. The last time we had Matt, he talked to us about Christmas dinner, how to prepare, how to not be, running around crazy about it. Keeping it low so that you can enjoy your holiday, but still have some good food. Go back. There's no, we're respectfully, we could spend hours on doing this, and we just spent hours tonight not even talking about that.
Yep.
So if y'all go to Daddy Porter's YouTube page and put Matt in there, y'all will see that. Or go back to last December. This is Matt's third episode.
Third
so
or fourth,
there
maybe.
or maybe even fourth. So you can go back a couple Decembers and absolutely see that. And we've been dropping knowledge too. I also recommend the Jeffrey ones too, because everything that Jeffrey
Jeffrey's
talks about,
fantastic.
yes, but everything he talks about as far as Thanksgiving completely applies to Christmas. But Christmas is generally more scaled back than Thanksgiving. Usually it's just a couple dishes, and usually, it happens in Thanksgiving too, but usually there's some traveling. I think there's more traveling done on Christmas than there is on Thanksgiving. I think you just end up usually at 1 or 2 spots on Thanksgiving. Some of y'all get to 3 and 4 spots on Christmas. Between Christmas Eve, some of y'all are crazy visiting everybody, and that's cool. But that takes a different kind of level of, bringing food and all that. So, I'm done with
brilliant idea, Daniel.
Yeah, I am. Who is this? Is this you, Doug?
That's me. Somehow it's not showing up that I'm really.
That's you. Okay, cool.
When I come to see you and then we go up to Milwaukee, that's the one brewery I want to go
to. Giant Jones.
Well, I like Daniel's idea about putting together a food panel.
Yeah. Oh, that is really a good one. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Daniel, Giant Jones does not produce barley wines. I can't even say that shit with a straight face. It's like one of the biggest lies told ever on the stream. They love barley wines. That's their shit, and they do them well. But and Daniel already knows it. But Daniel, we're gonna get you some. We're gonna get you some soon. Their wheat wine is idiotic. It's just idiotic. So, with that being said, y'all, we're gonna get out of here. Yep. We want to thank y'all for what's up, JHG. Thank you. Thank you for participating and adding to the conversation, my friend. Same with you, Daniel Fisher. Everybody check out his there's a plug here real quick. I could take some time to plug. Where's it? Oh, here we go. So
Watch OK, Please.
Yeah, we covered Dark in episodes 1 and 2 of Watch OK, Please.
Nice.
So, Google that. I don't know if you're familiar with that, Matt, but that's a fun podcast. You probably want to add to your long story short, what it is 3 friends and they pitch shows to each other. Meaning, hey, you should watch this show, and then they talk about it. And then also Daniel brings up they also talk about a really cool thing that Doug and I talk about often is when do you get out of a show? We're not going to talk about it now, but how many episodes do you invest? So that's why Watch OK Please is good, because you can listen to it and then they tell you before you even try to watch a show whether you should watch it or not. You can make your own decision through their pitches. So it's a fun one. And it's pretty unique too, because I don't know if we can find anything else like that as far as a podcast. So they really hit a good nerve. And on that note, we're going to hit a good nerve and get out of here. We will see y'all next week. Matt, we will see y'all. We will see you. I will see you at home.com before that, but we'll definitely have you back maybe in the spring, but absolutely always going to have you back Christmas time. Talk about NA beers and Christmas and all that. We didn't even talk about Christmas, but it's fine because we talked about mushrooms, right, Doug?
Yeah.
We talked about mushrooms. That was more important.
Yeah.
So,
next week we do have an interesting person on. We have a Hollywood costume designer. So.
Yeah, Whitney's a Hollywood costume designer, and Doug and her are going to geek out on 2020 movies. 2020 movies are going to be focused. I say Doug and her because I don't watch many movies, but I will be here. I'll probably maybe watch a movie or two, so I'll have something too. But yeah. Yes, thank you, Daniel. We'll see y'all soon.
Thank you, Daniel, for joining us.
Matt, thank you again. Cheers.
Hey.
Thank you.
Keep it
Have
going.
a good night, man.
Keep it all going. And that's great. Doug, see you next week. Matt, see you soon. Cheers, y'all.
Cheers.
Cheers.